to order. Let's have a roll call, please.
Director Kildee.
Here.
Director McDonald.
Here.
Director Morgan.
Here.
Secretary Little.
Here.
And
Yes.
Chairman Craven is not here because she's at a GMA meeting.
GMA.
She's representing us at a GMA meeting. Yep.
Okay. Mayor Morgan, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Everyone, please stand. Your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. There's consent. Well, first of all, any amendments to the agenda?
No amendments, Mr. Secretary.
Okay. Are there any public comments for items that are not on the agenda? None. Hearing none, we'll move on. And the first item is the consent.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion is carried, 5-0. Okay. Any items from departmental, legal counsel?
Nothing.
Comments from staff? Is there any comments from staff?
No comments, Mr. Secretary.
Comments from the board members? Hearing none, we'll stand adjourned.
Cameron City Council, please come to order. Let the record reflect that all city councilmen are present, with the exception of Charlotte Craven, who is presently representing our board at the Groundwater Maintenance Agency hearing. Let's move into the next item. We have any changes to the agenda, Mr. City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, staff respectfully request that item 18C, which is the resolution approving the 2015 Urban Water Management Plan update, we request that that public hearing be continued at the appropriate time.
Any objections? Okay, we'll continue that item.
You'll be taking action during that time. This is just prior notice.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Presentation, we have none this evening. Consent calendar?
Your Honor, before we take action on it, I would like to have the record reflect that I will be abstaining on item N, as in Nancy. There's no reason to pull it. I just need to abstain because the proposed developer is a client of the firm which I'm employed, and while I have no direct financial conflict, I just don't want any appearance of such. So I will be abstaining on item N.
Any other withdrawals? We have a motion
Move approval
I'll second the motion.
with the
with the notation.
yes, notation that she's abstaining. Okay, please vote. That motion passes 3-2. We're doing the whole thing now, I think.
Yeah, but the record's just going to reflect that I abstained, and you're voting on everything with me abstaining on N.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you'd take it out separately, but
I
no.
didn't ask to have it pulled. No.
Okay, that's a 4-0 with Ms. Craven missing. Next item on the agenda. If I can find it. Public Works. Agreements, trolley service, so on.
Your Honor, I believe I have to recuse myself by the fact that I have a business that is within 300 feet, I believe, of one of the stops of this.
That's
Particularly when there's 1,000 people coming every day to see
That's it. With that, let me know when it's time to come back.
Okay.
Okay, now you continue.
Okay, yes, thank you, Your Honor. This item here is to formalize what's already been presented as far as the budget goes, to continue the trolley service and continue on with agreements that have been in place. And it would be a new agreement now to replace the existing to reflect the changes to the budget setup that we have to fund the trolley services. So a new agreement with Channel Islands University, and we're amending the existing agreement with the Chamber of Commerce. And this is to reflect the new cost-sharing approach where it would be a $25,000 share between the city, the university, and the Chamber of Commerce to fund the non-federally funded portion. So $125,000 in federal funding is what is programmed to go towards the overall cost of $200,000, leaving the $75,000 to be covered by those three agencies. So this item is simply to put into place an amendment to the existing agreement between the city and the chamber, and a new agreement between the city and Channel Islands University, reflecting those costs and the cost-sharing approach.
Questions?
Just to clarify, the cost sharing of the one, or the 75 is an equal one-third apiece,
That's
correct?
correct.
Other questions, Bill?
None.
I want to let it know, I was speaking to a group in Leisure Village, and they are so jazzed. A couple of them said, they've got to go ride it. They've got to, I said, please do. You can park one place and be back there in a half an hour or so. And so they couldn't wait. Are we still gaining ridership?
Current numbers are steady, and if not increasing. I don't have the current counts actually in front of me to confirm that, but
Okay.
they have been steadily increasing over the past.
Thank you. Motions?
I'll move the motion.
Second?
Motion is second. Please vote. Somebody hit it. That motion passes 3-0 with Mr. Kildee abstaining because of conflict, and also Charlotte Craven not here because she's at a conference for us. Okay, you can ask Kevin.
Kevin didn't.
This next one's going to be fun. Okay, Kevin, you're back. Now let's move to the next item, the city manager's item. That would be consideration of Proposition 64, Adult Use of Marijuana Act.
Mr. Mayor, the council member McDonald and I represent the legislative committee, and we had a discussion about this some 2 to 3 weeks ago. And we have made a position, and I think there's someone here to talk about it.
Good evening, Your Honor, and members of the City Council.
Turn the mic on, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On November 8th, California voters will consider Proposition 64, which seeks to legalize and regulate marijuana for adults 21 years of age or older. Under the Act, individuals could possess limited amounts of marijuana and marijuana products and cultivate up to 6 marijuana plants indoors, such as in private residence, including an apartment, a mobile home, or other similar dwelling. With regard to commercial, let me move back to that. However, if they are going to cultivate plants indoors, they must be within an fully enclosed area, secured, and not visible from a public place. With regard to commercial marijuana businesses, the measure establishes a statewide comprehensive regulatory framework that is very similar to the medical marijuana industry, created by the Medical Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act, which was passed into law last year. Under the Act, the Bureau of Marijuana Control will oversee both medical and recreational marijuana industries, including licensing. Additionally, under the Act, marijuana cultivators, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and testing laboratories will need to obtain a state license to operate. However, state licensing authorities, which include the Departments of Food and Agriculture, Public Health, and Consumer Affairs, may not issue a state license if approval of such license will violate provisions of any local ordinance or regulation. In terms of local control, there will be no state preemption of local ordinance under this measure. The measure thereby protects local authority over marijuana land uses, but as I indicated earlier, it restricts local agencies from completely prohibiting private indoor marijuana cultivation. However, local agencies could consider adopting ordinances to regulate indoor cultivation for public health and safety reasons, such as nuisance odors and fire inspections. A local agency could also require indoor cultivators to obtain a landlord's consent, if applicable. If Proposition 64 passes by a simple majority vote of the people of California, smoking of marijuana will become legal, but it will still be prohibited in places where smoking tobacco is prohibited under the city's existing ordinances. As for taxation, the measure imposes new state taxes on cultivation and sale of medical and recreational marijuana. The new tax would be based on a dollar amount per ounce, and the new excise tax would be based on the retail price of marijuana products sold, which, according to the Legislative Analyst Office, could yield revenue over $1 billion annually. Most of the funds would be required to be spent on for specific purposes such as youth programs, environmental protection, and law enforcement. And as Councilmember Little indicated just before I began my report, on August 30th, the Legislative Committee completed a review of this measure and discussed the potential impacts to the city and its residents. Based on the committee's review and discussion, there are many unknowns and a climate of legal uncertainty that remain, including the fact that marijuana is illegal under federal law. And for these reasons, the Legislative Committee recommends the City Council oppose Proposition 64. Should the City Council oppose the committee's recommendation, the City Council will be taking a position against cultivation, possession, and use of marijuana for recreational purposes. On behalf of the Legislative Committee's recommendation, the suggested action is for a motion to oppose Proposition 64, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act. This concludes staff's report. I'm available to answer questions.
You want to go?
Bill, go ahead, Bill.
No,
I just,
Questions?
for one clarification, this takes effect immediately if it passes. It's not one that waits till the next year, right?
It would go into effect November 9th.
The 9th, okay.
Other questions, Kevin?
Yeah, maybe the committee members can answer this, but perhaps Roger or even Don, but was there any discussion about the impacts on law enforcement if this does pass?
Yeah, if I could perhaps talk a little bit about what the committee discussed and everything, and that was certainly one of the biggest discussions points. We talked about what's going on in Colorado, which most of it isn't all that good. Driving under the influence of marijuana, which is almost impossible to prove, and given the fact that marijuana wears off quickly. So by the time you get someone that you think is driving marijuana, get them to a place where you could test them, in many cases they walk because the marijuana is out of their system. But they've had about a 20% increase in arrests for impaired driving because of marijuana. There's an increase in hospital intakes because of overdosing. And one of the big problems is this indoor cultivation, because it says 6 plants, but how are you going to, and you don't have to have a license or anything, how are you going to check, number one, who's doing it, number two, how many plants they have, and whether they, and so you could have a lot of marijuana growing in mushy, drier utility rooms and so forth. So it's going to be a problem for the police department. And oh, by the way, in Colorado, there's a big intake of marijuana issues at schools, high school particularly. So for those reasons, we thought it was just something that we're not going to be, even if we take a position of no position on this and it passes, and we do everything we want to under that by not allowing it in except for the cultivation, we are going to be impacted simply because we don't live in a bubble. And what happens in the uses in other places, the sale of marijuana and so forth, is going to infect Camarillo. So we felt that it was a citywide issue and that we shouldn't get ourselves into that unless it just happens. That's why we took the position.
Thank you.
Who's the other committee member?
It was me. One of the things we talked about was the fact that often we don't take positions on propositions as they come before the citizens. But why this one? Because it has such a direct effect on the city, on the operation of the city, on our police department. So we felt it was something that we really should bring forward and see if the rest of the council would agree to take a position on it. We felt that while our smoking laws covered it, as far as smoking in public, there was just so much more involved on other people's rights when you begin to allow this kind of thing. And so it is something that we felt very strongly about, that it's just not in the best interest of our communities. So for those reasons, we felt that it was important for us to take a stand on it.
Kevin, anything?
I had asked the question about law enforcement
What
and
about-
the impacts on law enforcement.
Absolutely, and they're going to have to deal with how, if it passes, how they're going to monitor all of this, which Mr. Little talked about. How do you find out how much they're growing? How do you measure that? Even when you pull someone over for impaired driving, it's a lot more difficult to tell if they're under the influence of marijuana versus alcohol. So the testing and how they're going to handle that. And I don't know if our captain wants to add to that discussion. He probably knows more about it than I do, but it's certainly going to make it more difficult for them to patrol our streets and to maintain that safe environment that we all want. I'm watching him shake his head.
Now, we're through with questions now. Any comments before we go?
You got one more.
Bill?
Again, in Colorado, they've found that there is still as much marijuana being going on underground because all they've done is driven the price down, which makes more people anxious to buy it. So all that's done is to undercut the official price of whatever the state is charging, and then just driven it underground further.
And the other interesting thing in Colorado is that since it is now legal to grow it there, they're exporting it too. So it's become big business for them, and not necessarily in a good way. So there's just a lot of reasons to. We felt
What
it was
other
important.
states have approved? Is Colorado? Is there a couple? Oregon. Is there another one? Anybody? Is it just two?
Washington.
And Washington, Washington's the other. There's three.
Okay.
Alaska does?
Alaska does? I didn't know about
Yeah,
that.
Alaska. Well, they have long winters.
Yeah.
They got to make it through the winter somehow. Well, I got a couple, three comments, since this was the area I lived in for 27 and a half years. And living with those who had these problems, not only federal cases, but also county cases for 4.5 years, I'd like to talk about a few of these things that I'm very much against it. I always have been. Federal law preempts it. If it's a big enough case, it should go feds anyway. This way, we don't have to worry about it. But that doesn't take care for all the people using it out here in the community. I don't think that you understand. We have a group here that gets a grant from the federal government under Rabbi Lang that the police department goes to those meetings too, and so do I sometime. And it's showing the different things and ways that marijuana is not just marijuana anymore. They add other things to it. It's much more potent, much more potent. And then don't tell me you can't get in a car and drive and be under a real potent bunch of marijuana. I can guarantee you you'll be driving under the influence. Some of these cases, many of these cases where they're growing things, and you read in the paper occasionally, and you go in the mountains and they find this whole setup with irrigation and everything. Well, some of these things are tied to cartels in Mexico. If you don't think they haven't moved into Colorado wrong, they know where to make money. And if they can go there and get less of a headache, then that's where they're going to go. Again, children will have a greater access to marijuana now if this happens. I'm worried about the youth and what they can get into and get it easier. An adult can buy it for them right then and there. the youth programs, it talked about this spending in youth programs and police, and yeah, who does that? Is that in their budget? The state of California put that in their budget that way? Or they just use what they want to, and they say you're going to go to youth? I'd like to see some of that, because I know how they operate up there. Marijuana, again, I told you, is much more powerful. And the sales, we mentioned the sales in Colorado. Many, and they've had articles on it, many are going out of state with truckloads and carloads of stuff to sell other places, because they can get it easier there and not have to worry about growing it. Someone else is growing it, and they're taking it. I think there's a lot of bad things that come out of this legalization of marijuana in California. We have much more populated areas than Washington and Oregon. We have a whole lot of people in Los Angeles that get impacted by this too. And again, when you're testing people for marijuana, yes, immediately. But if you smell it on you'll know they've been using marijuana. But the other thing is, they don't pass a alcohol test because they can't. They don't have alcohol in their system. So it's got to be a illegal substance that they've got in them. And so they will then take them in, and you can get it from a blood test. And if you think it's going to disappear, no, marijuana stays in your hair. That's how we used to test them. Take a piece of hair, you'll have marijuana in that hair. Not from out here, but from inside. And so you can pick them up through their hair samples also. Anyway, I've spoken enough about this, but I'm very much against this being legalized, and I'll make that clear, I always have. Because I've seen the results. It starts out with marijuana that goes to something else. And this marijuana is much more potent than it used to be. Okay.
Can I add one more thing? And you mentioned, and it was one of the other reasons why the committee thought that this needs to come forward for the council to take a position on. It is indeed against federal law, and we felt that that was very important because we are here to abide by federal law. Sometimes, whether we like it or not, that is what we're here to do, and we take that oath of office to do so. So that was one of the another primary reason why we felt it was important that the council take an action on it.
I used to tell people that as a federal officer, folks, you can't just do it, oh, we'll move to Washington. Yeah? And the feds are up there too, and it's still illegal. If you've got a big enough amount of marijuana, the feds could get into it. Anyway, that's done.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we oppose Proposition 64, Adult Use of Marijuana Act.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Please vote. I'm sure that'll pass 5 to zip, but she's not here right now. It's 4 to nothing with Ms. Craven still out. She'll be back soon. Okay, let's move on to our next item. Pleasant Valley Park and Rec. Request this appointment of one of our 2 council members to participate in an ad hoc committee, I like the idea too, to oversee the district's needs assessment project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Pleasant Valley Recreation and Park District is in the process of requesting proposals for a needs assessment study to provide detailed information on the recreation and parks needs of groups and individuals, identify current gaps in recreation and park offerings, and project the future recreational and park needs of the community. PVRPD General Manager Mary Otten would like to form an ad hoc committee, as would their district board, comprised of 2 district board members, 1 representative from the Camarillo Healthcare District, and 1 or 2 Camarillo City Council members. Committee members, supported by staff, will be primarily tasked with providing guidance on community outreach and public participation, level of service analysis, park and recreation gap analysis, and a feasibility and implementation plan. It is anticipated that the district board will approve an award of a contract for the needs assessment on November 3rd, and the preliminary needs assessment will be completed by April or May 2017. It's my recommendation that the 2 members of the liaison committee, and that is Mayor Morgan and Vice Mayor McDonald, be appointed to this ad hoc committee for this purpose.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'd agree with that recommendation. I think they're both very well versed in the issues, and I think they know the players. They're very interested in this subject, and I know they'll do a real good, impartial job at this.
Mr. Little?
I want to make sure that this needs assessment covers the senior center. Is that going to be part of it?
That's one of the needs, Bill.
I'd like to have someone on the record there.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mary Otten, General Manager, Pleasant Valley Recreation Park District. So part of this needs assessment will be to cover a senior center. What we're looking to do is find out where the gaps, what things we do well and where the gaps in the community. And I think one of the things that we've heard, and I'm sure you have heard as well, is that we have a gap with senior needs, a senior center, and so that will definitely be a part of this.
Well, I'm talking about a physical building.
Yes. That will be part of it, because what we'll look at as part of the needs assessment is not just programming, but what buildings, what facilities we have, where we have gaps. And as you know, we have a very small senior center, so when we finish this, I have no doubt that there will come out of it that we need a much larger senior center. And then as we're looking as part of this, it'd be feasibility. So what that would look like, what it would cost, what we're looking at down the road, timeframes, all of those things as we go forward.
Okay.
Because in the past, I know there's been different motions, like building an extension out 15 feet behind it, all kinds of things. But we've been waiting to see what you are coming up with so we can talk to you about it.
Correct. And I think part of this needs assessment is to be able to go out to the community and say, what do we need?
Yes.
And looking at it, when you're looking at active seniors anymore, it's not your typical seniors anymore. So what we really want to make sure is we're capturing what the seniors and what the community want. So when we build something, we don't outgrow it within a year.
Well, I hope it's more than a large card room.
One of the things, if you haven't been there, I've been there many times, because a lot of times they'll take church leftover donuts for them, and tons of them. And I've been there for many things. And so they've got things like, you got the bridge club, the poker club, the computer education, the Wii club, the group that does the Wii things, the bridge club. I mean, it just goes on and on. And now you've got 3 things coming up. What, you're going to go take a bus trip to... Where was it?
They do bus trips up to
Laughlin?
England. They go to Laughlin.
Uh-huh.
We've been 4 or 5 different locations. So
Right.
they do different trips.
So if you go there, it's a very active place, and it's kind of full. And sometimes it's too full. And they have a guitar group comes in and plays once a month, I think it is.
Yeah, we have a band that plays every week that I get to hear from my office.
Right.
So sometimes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I can tell if the pitch is off.
Well, I think you've got the word. We have. Did we voted, right? Yeah. No. Okay. Everyone, please vote.
Your Honor, can I
I don't
make
think we have a motion.
can I make a
have a
comment
motion.
before
I need
we
a motion.
make a motion?
Okay.
Yeah, I was pleased to see this, and I think Councilmember Little said it best, that, and the other council members as well, but to do a needs assessment and really see thoroughly what the needs are, and so the services are not overlapped. As many of us know here, there's a lot of programs for seniors here, so I think we're definitely on the right track here, and I'm happy to see this. And Mayor, would you like me to make the motion now? or-
Just one last comment before we go, because I got the thing on Arneal Ranch today about it's kind of going down the hill water-wise. We might work out something. I don't know. It's just an idea. But where our trucks water the trees on the east side of town with recycled water, that might be something that could help save that park and those trees in that park. And I hate to see those die. So it may be something we can talk about too. Okay.
With that, I would like to make the motion that we appoint Mayor Morgan and Vice Mayor McDonald as the city representatives to the ad hoc committee to oversee the district needs assessment project along with the Pleasant Valley Recreation
I'll
and Park
second with a
District.
comment. That comment is, it's too bad Matt Lorimer isn't here.
Oh, Matt would tell us how to do it. Never mind.
Been talking about us not doing anything.
Okay. Any other comments? Please vote.
You can tell him tomorrow night at the next forum, Mr. Mayor.
That motion passes 4-0 with Ms. Craven absent because she's representing us at a meeting. Okay, next item. Thank you for coming.
Look forward to it.
Okay, now, Mr. City Attorney, you want to talk to us about our closed session?
Yes, the council is going to adjourn to closed session. There are 2 items listed. One is conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation, number of cases, 3 potential cases, and also conference with real property negotiator regarding the former fire station property.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the next item. Do we have any comments from the city manager?
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
City attorney?
Nothing.
I propose that we put the city council comments off till Charlotte gets here. I would have to do it over again. Can we do that later?
Sure.
Okay. Now we're going to recess to a study session
And then our closed sessions, right?
and closed session. Could you take the roll call, please?
Councilmember Craven,
Here.
Councilmember Kildee,
Here.
Councilmember Little,
Here.
Vice Mayor McDonald.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Present. Could everyone please stand for the flag salute? Mr. Little, could you lead us in the flag salute?
Please join me in pledging allegiance to our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple presentations this evening. Our first presentation will be the new Police Chief Commander, Chris Dunn. Would someone like to come up and introduce Mr. Dunn with me? The sheriff's here. Come on up.
He's going to do it from there.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Norman, it's a pleasure to be here. Jeff Dean, the Sheriff of Ventura County, to introduce...
You can come up here if you want to.
No, I'm good, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stand there.
I don't want to turn my back to you, but I turn my back to you guys. You guys good? You good? All right, we're good. No, we're good. It's a pleasure to introduce Commander McGrath's replacement, selected by your city manager. I'd be remiss, although she is sitting somewhere in Hawaii, lounging around, I'm sure, sipping something that has a little umbrella in it. But if I didn't thank Commander McGrath for her long and dedicated career and her commitment not just to the city of Camarillo, where she's worked every rank possible, but also just to the community. And I'm very disappointed she's leaving. But it's hard to question someone who makes a choice to leave and take care of family, and that's certainly the number one priority. But not unlike Mr. Larry Davis over there, we were talking earlier, that Camarillo usually ends up with the cream of the crop, serving as their chief of police, and there's a long history that way. And Commander Chris Dunn is no exception. 28 years in law enforcement career. Currently, he's a commander in charge of our West County area, where he oversees the City of Fillmore contract, the Ojai Contract Office of Emergency Services. He's got the bomb squad. He runs our unmanned aviation unit. In fact, Chris was the leader in the nation for when civilians and law enforcement were allowed to start using unmanned, we don't call them drones, unmanned little helicopter things. And it has spoke around the country about it and assured that actually our department was the first agency in the state to get approval to use that. He actually began his career right here in 1985 as a cadet for the city of Camarillo. In fact, he used to show up and open up the council meetings and hang around the city manager's office and lock up afterwards when the meetings are over. He's had a very diverse and successful career, including being the captain of our Ojai contract. He ran our major crimes unit. So he brings a lot of experience to the table. He spent much of his life here in Camarillo. He raised his kids here. He certainly has a commitment to duty. He joined the Navy when he was 17 years old and has spent the past 15 years in the Naval Reserve after his duty time. And it's a military thing, so I have to read it. So locally, he spent most of his time in Magoo in charge of the security forces. Currently, Chris is the commanding officer for the Navy Reserve Security Forces unit assigned to Naval Base San Diego. So for those of you council members that might be concerned he's going to be gone, he's actually only has 6 months and he is leaving the reserves after a long and healthy career. Chris and his wife Gina continue to live in Camarillo, where they've raised their 2 kids. Now, some of the council members know there's a little history, a little connection here. Mm-hmm. Chris's wife, Gina, is the eldest and I think the calmest of all the Abbott children. And for those of you who've been around Camarillo for a while, you remember Ray Abbott, who was actually promoted to commander the first time Camarillo had a commander in his position, and had a long reign, I think over 10 years, and actually hit a tennis ball with a few of you in days gone past. So it's my pleasure. I think Mr. Norman made an outstanding choice, and I think Chris, as the other commanders in the past, will serve you very well. And if he doesn't, I live really close, so they take good care of Camarillo. With that, Chris.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Norman. I appreciate your vote of confidence and selection for this position. I and my wife are very excited about this new chapter in our life, and it's very fortunate for us that we get the opportunity to be part of the city that we grew up in, went to high school in, spent most of my career in and out of, and I have a lot of buy-in. I'm very anxious to get started here, and I appreciate the vote of confidence. So,
Great.
Thank
Welcome.
you very much. Thank you.
Well, welcome very much.
Before you leave, I'd like to say one thing. Now that I know you're part of the Abbott family, you're in great shape. Ray and I have been backpacking his stuff together. He's got a great family, and I know that you wouldn't have done better by marrying who you married. So,
Right. I have a lot of advisor at my beck and call, so that's great.
welcome.
Thank you.
Any comments, other council members?
Just welcome.
Just welcome, and
We'll be seeing you every month, twice a month. We now have a presentation that's going to be made by the Ventura County Lodging Association annual report. Hi.
Honorable Mayor and council members, Mr. Norman, thank you so much for allowing me to come. My name is Rebecca Evans, and I'm the Executive Director of the Ventura County Lodging Association. We want to always give you an update of what we're doing and how we're doing, because it's all about your city. And in the audience, we have Adriana Weiser. She is the Executive Director for our own Camarillo. So she's actually on my board of directors. We have Mackenzie, who stepped in while Adriana just had a baby, so we love our Mackenzie girl. And then Paul, who is helping to market your city. But they are part of just the team that supports me as we go along. So I just want to share a couple things with you, and if you have any questions, let me know. Our Ventura County Coast, our new theme is Venture Out. Let me see if I do this right, Jeffrey. Yes, we want to talk numbers. I just wanted to share some numbers about tourism and what's going on in the lodging area and tourism within the four cities of Ventura, Oxnard, Camarillo, and Port Hueneme, which is made up of the Ventura County Coast. Oh, it's kind of hard to see, but we go by, at the hotel industry, we go by a star report. And I highlighted Camarillo because you are incredible. I don't know if the hoteliers are watching this, but Camarillo, if you see, the first one is August 2014. It was 76.4. That is for occupancy. It goes up all the way along. You know what? I changed that second one. August, the year to date is actually 79.8. So then it goes up to 89.8, 79.8, all the way up to 83.6 this year to date, which is just incredible. In this next one, you can see it's the kind of darker brown. You are above everybody almost of California. So we are just doing such an incredible job besides Ventura County Coast, but again, your Camarillo group here, your team. Our budget this year is $2 million. We have $500,000 extra in the coffers that we're not even counting on, but we're going to spend that as well. We've invested almost $8 million so far since we started in 2011 in public relations, media buys, social media marketing, event support, website, the blog, and fam and media tours. Camarillo, we have given, with the 20% that we give back to the community, almost $400,000. So not only does she have that money that she gets from the T-bid here, but we also give that for marketing dollars. And it's all about heads and beds. One of the things we are constantly talking about is our destination, and familiarity, that is a very weird word, is critical in attracting investment. In the leisure travel, 13% of executives state that they were influenced by leisure travel. 37% reported that they were influenced by business travel. So we talk a lot of leisure and we talk a lot of business, and we talk SMERF, which is funny. It's not the little blue men, it's sports and social, military, education, entertainment, religious, fraternal, and ethnic. And we're constantly talking to groups like that to come into the area to spend time here. I wanted to share some fun facts with you. 45% of American leisure travelers took only overnight trips during 2016. One of the things that stands out, 23% are multi-generational trips, so people are going as families, me included. 32% go to national parks. We have one of the best national parks right now, and the thing is Channel Islands, the world is coming to know Channel Islands, so we count that in your blessing there. Total direct traveling spending in Ventura County, and this is all of Ventura County, from Visit California, is $1.6 billion has coming into this area. Visitor spending at destination by type of accommodation, almost 700,000, or million, excuse me, almost 50% is hotel motel, which is where I come in as a lodging association. So I wanted to make sure you saw that. Visitor spending by commodity, so food, accommodations, that sort of thing. We're bringing in $1,450,000,000 in just extra. So tourism is extremely important in our area. The mission of the VCLA, the Lodging Association, it's a benefited assessment. We are not a tax, we are an assessment. So whenever somebody checks in, they pay an extra 2%, and that goes straight back to us in marketing. So that's all we do with it, is we spend money on marketing. We are constantly working with the cities. They are on my board of directors, but we work side by side in all kinds of things, including all kinds of co-ops and different things like that, which Adriana is going to share with you someday. Some of the strategies, I wanted to make sure that you knew our strategy just for VCLA. Adriana has a different strategy and a different target. But right now we're hitting Canada, Arizona, South Bay, Orange County, San Diego, Palm Springs, and Desert Springs. We also have a drive market, so we hit really hard LA, Inland Empire, Central Valley, Fresno, and Bakersfield. And I was so excited because I was going to try to get more going for international. And I said, okay, 2017, I'm going to go for it because that's when it's going to go up and domestic's going down. We just went to a conference and it's changing again because of all the different things going on in the world. Now domestic's going back up and international's changing. So we're going to hit some, but we're not going to hit it as hard. We're going to stay with our domestic marketing. We had a previous branding. It was Ventura County West, then we changed to Ventura County Coast, which I want to explain to you. This is our new, like, pictures and different things like that. Our new is Ventura County Coast, and Camarillo is truly the gateway to the coast. Nobody can get there without coming through you. So we constantly talk that up, constantly show them you're only 10 minutes away from the beach, so you are a beach community. The 4 points, what that is it's a map point, or what's going to happen is we have a new website coming up, and they're going to be able to go over those different points, and they'll be able to bring up the cities. So it's a unique thing, and it's growing on me more and more all the time. This is the new. This one in the bottom is one of the orchards right here in Camarillo. We just took those pictures last week. They haven't even been used, but so I wanted to show you some of the things that we're bringing. We are all over agritourism, so we are part of the Farm Day that's coming up. We're supporting that. Agritourism in the sense of farm to table, the whole thing. And that's what a lot of our hoteliers, they have really top chefs that are actually doing farm to table cooking right now. So we're really excited. It's got beautiful colors. We have a new media team, a new PR team, and new social media company. We have a brand new website coming out. Everything's changing, including we have a new office. So every single thing I'm doing is brand new. So it's kind of exciting. That should hopefully be coming up in November. And when you go into one of the parts that have a hotel, it shows things to do and restaurants and all kinds of things in your city. So that's kind of exciting. I want to talk social really, really quick. Facebook. We have so many followers. As you can see, we just keep going up and up. We're at about 40,000 right now. Lots and lots. In Twitter, we keep, it just keeps growing and growing. We do a lot of interaction on Twitter. So every month, you can see we're up to 2,100 plus. And in engagement, it's over 9,000 impressions. Instagram, that is one of the hottest things. So if you're doing any kind of marketing right now, you need to be on Instagram. Just beautiful pictures if you ask me, but everybody else really uses it. We're plus 6,012 followers right now. This is one of the coolest things we started. This last year, we started hashtag VCC Life. And this was the #1 hits, but 536 hours watched. It's video. It's actually Snapchat. So how many of you are on Snapchat? Snapchat is actually changed. So now we created a whole video thing. There's over 110,000 video views. So please look at our website and watch those. We have VCC Life, and the very first one we did was actually flying out of Camarillo. It's actually incredible. So make sure you go. This is our adventure theme we're doing for 10 different videos. The next one is going to be food and drink. So we're going with beer, wine, the whole thing. And that is it. I just wanted to share and make sure you had some information. We gave you some little goodies in your bag and then a copy of the PowerPoint. Any questions?
Where's your new office?
It's in Ventura.
It's
right on Goodyear.
Okay. Questions?
I have just one.
Kevin?
So a lot of the reasons why we're being so successful is obviously, well, in my opinion, the marketing plan that you've developed. Is that pretty much the
totally correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just incredible. And we're watching, the trends are going. And like I said, I was ready to go a little bit more international, but the trends are changing, and that's going down a little bit. So we'll put a little bit more back into the domestic. Yep.
To give you a little feedback,
Yes.
and thank you for your Fiesta, your donation to Fiesta, because you did put the word out there on the internet about it. We had people from Bakersfield Valley, like you say,
Right.
coming and get out of the hot and come over here. But I don't know about today, but at that time, getting out of the heat and coming to the coast and enjoying the Fiesta. But we appreciated what you did for us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. My pleasure. Love my Camarillo.
Thank you very much
Thank
for the
you
presentation.
so much. Have a great day.
Now it's time for public comments for those items that are not on the agenda. These public comments will be on items, again, not on the agenda. First, Jill Ingram.
Good evening to everyone, Mayor, Vice Mayor, the rest of the council. I'm nervous because I didn't expect to come on first, so I'm going to try to be calm here. I am continuing in the subject that I am of great concern. I have been a resident of Camarillo since 1998, and over the years, it's ubiquitous. I don't blame Camarillo for this, but trends change, times change, crime goes up, and the things that I'm concerned about are residential crime and also the homeless population that I've noticed from time to time. And I feel a certain amount of empathy, but I also feel a certain amount of fear just because you never know if somebody's going to be unstable or not. So I just am querying some questions, just throwing it out there. Number one in my mind is, why is the city of Camarillo treated as if it were a satellite of the Ventura County Sheriffs, in as much as the dispatchers are in Ventura, and they seem to keep count of calls that you make. How many calls did you make? But many calls that I've made don't necessarily pertain to me, such as if I see graffiti, or if I see homeless people, or if I see the debris of homeless people. I'll call it in, even though it's not me, it's not right by my house. It could be at Constitution Park. It could be in Charter Oak Park, and I'm a pedestrian. And I reflect that this is a community of a lot of people, and I'm just calling because of that. And I also called about M80s being shot late at night, and it turned out it was called a frat house, but I don't get that. I saw Navy stickers on the trucks parked in all of these areas. That would be on Munson Street. And one of the other things, because I am retired from Verizon infrastructure provisioning, engineering support, I'm very cognizant of when I see telephone outside plant equipment being tampered with, as it is an epidemic ubiquitously for copper to be stolen from outside plant facilities and other things that you would hear of. I also noticed Edison poles that were vandalized, and like right up there on Las Posas by Charter Oak. Creosote, which is a Prop 65 carcinogen, is leaking out of these poles, and they have been vandalized. I have noticed graffiti. I have called it in, but by the grace of God, I know some people that still work for Verizon, even though it's Frontier. But but people that contract back or are engineers, all the way out to Cucamonga, for example, or Santa Monica, because I'm just community oriented, and I'm just trying to keep things safe and keep everybody safe. And I just feel bad when I get dinged for overly calling.
One thing before you leave, when you call, make sure you call the city on graffiti, because the city takes care of graffiti calls. We try to get them off within 48 hours of being notified. That's our little policy, but we try.
I have done that too, Mike. Thank you. I have done that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt Lorimer.
Matt Lorimer, I have a short comment. Former Fiesta President Robert Campanelli was sentenced today to 240 days in county jail and 3 years probation. While we still haven't heard from Mayor Mike Morgan and Susan Kitchens about what steps have been taken that won't happen again at the Fiesta, now is the time for the City Council to move forward and ban council members and their families from sitting on nonprofit boards that receive taxpayer dollars. We haven't heard from the City Council on this issue, and we need to soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your comments, especially from a board that hasn't received city things in 4 years. Thank you. The last one I have is Terry Bray.
Good evening. Terry Bray, Camarillo resident for 32 plus years. Basically, I'm here to make it public or publicly known that I did not receive any response from any representative of the city of Camarillo in regards to the written demand that I had presented to your council, Mr. Pierick, that is at a dollar amount of less than 1/3 of my original claim. It saddens me greatly that it looks as though this is going to be a court action. Could have been settled out of court and we could move on with our lives. I don't know how the city is going to explain to a jury how they continued to finance Habitat for Humanity of Ventura County when they haven't had a contractor's license for over 34 years. The district attorney, who was made aware of the situation, not by me, as one of the council members has stated publicly, but by the California State Licensing Board. Their concern was so that they felt it was a district attorney issue. The district attorney has chosen not to file criminal charges against Habitat, but at the time, and a district attorney representative informed me that they were looking at culpable charges against the city of Camarillo for this to continue on. Recently, because of a fluke that I was here, you guys were going to again finance Habitat for Humanity $91,000 of block grant money. You've already financed them close to $500,000. They don't have a city license to operate, and There was even a meeting called together by Mr. Joe Vaca in a so-called attempt to try and rectify the situation, and on city property witnessed by Mr. Vaca, Habitat again impersonated as a general contractor, providing me a contract to sign that also included the release of any claims. The work that they did, or if you want to even call it work, that's substandard, found by the Contractors Board and the Housing and Community Development Agency as being substandard and not code compliant, remains unresolved. I have done everything I can to settle this out of court. Everything. I don't know how the city of Camarillo is going to defend themselves against this gross negligence that I have in black and white of intimidation efforts, flat-out lies on both your part and Habitat for Humanity of Ventura County. I don't have anything against Habitat as a general organization. This is a rogue chapter that has falsely impersonated themselves as a general contractor for 34 years without a license, and you guys funded them. And I don't understand how the staff didn't catch that in funding, in their research of funding organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for your comments. I have no other cards this evening for comments, public comments, and I'd like to move toward our first public hearing. Resolution Fiscal Year 2016-17 Action Plan Amendment. Joe?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Morgan. Oksana Buck will be providing the staff presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Morgan and council members. The annual action plan implements the 5-year consolidated plan, and it identifies various programs for spending the annual CDBG grant. The current action plan was approved by your council and submitted to HUD in May. The city's allocation for the current year is $281,099. Approximately $182,000 of it is allocated to the owner-occupied housing rehabilitation program, approximately $42,000 to public services, and the remaining to fair housing and administration. In addition to the $281,000 allocation for the year, the city also has an unallocated balance of approximately $384,000. Most of that money comes from the unspent housing rehabilitation funds from the previous years, and only $29,709 is from recent program income. The balance from the housing rehab program is high, but the balance from the program income is low, and this is because HUD requires the city to spend program income before it can draw down the annual allocation. The city anticipates more program income of $133,000 this year. $8,000 of it will be from 2 down payment assistant loans being paid off, and $125,000 from Park Glen Seniors project loan being paid off that was originated in 1999. And when we add this up, we get approximately $798,000 in CDBG money. Based on HUD's requirements, the city's balance cannot exceed $421,649 by April 30th. So this means that we must spend $376,468 by mid-April. To spend the balance, staff introduced a rental housing rehabilitation program at your study session on July 13th and was directed to draft an amendment to the action plan to include this program. The new program will provide up to $400,000 for improving quality of housing in exchange for affordable units. And the draft amendment was made available for a 30-day public review period, and no comments have been received. Meanwhile, the staff has coordinated with property owners that could benefit from this new program. So far, we have commitment from property owners of 2 buildings on Ventura Boulevard, and we are working with neighboring property owners. Staff will also look into other rental properties in the city that may benefit from the program. Staff requests that your council adopt a resolution approving the action plan amendment and authorize staff to submit it to HUD for review. And that concludes my presentation, and staff's available to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Little.
Is there any Do you anticipate any trouble of getting the $300-some-odd-thousand spent before April 30th of next year?
We're confident that we'll be able to comply. That's our goal, and that's why we're trying to introduce this new program and amend the action plan to give us an additional tool to try to make that spending commitment.
I think we need to be kept aware of the progress on that.
We're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you for your program, because it looks like we can move along and make some things happen. You've shown us one of those, and it looks like some sharp stuff happening. Good. Make us look better. Oh, yeah, you're right. Forgot the public hearing. I'd like to now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes? I have no cards. Is there anyone who wishes to address us on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Comments from council?
Your Honor.
Yes?
Yes, I think that there's a lot of room for improvements to rental properties. In fact, several years ago, Mrs. McDonald asked if there wasn't some way we could provide money to improve rental properties. And it took a few years to get this going, and maybe it is or maybe it isn't a direct result of her comments, but at any rate, I think it's very much needed. There are a lot of rental properties in the city of Camarillo, residential rental properties that are getting pretty run down, and I think this will help. Additionally, whenever somebody starts improving a neighborhood, I think other people step forward, and it just starts a whole new process. So I think this is a really good program.
Other comments? Ms. Chan?
Well, I just want to thank staff for this. I agree. I think it's a program. I hope it's successful. I hope you get, property owners to participate, because it really is a win-win. It's a win for them, but it's a win for those individuals or families that are in those rental units and the neighborhood. And so I really applaud you. Good report, and let's get it going.
Yep.
Let's get it going.
Kevin?
Let's get it going. Yeah, that's a good thing.
Okay.
I'll move to adopt a resolution approving the FY 2016-17 Action Plan Amendment, direct staff to submit the document to HUD for review, and appropriate $400,000 for the rental housing rehabilitation program.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Please vote. That motion passes 5-0. Now I'd like to move to item B, which is resolutions certifying subsequent final EIR number 2014-08 and approving general plan amendments number 2014Z R2 and Airport North specific plan amendment, approval of this agreement regarding general plan amendment and zone change, and introduction of an ordinance approving change of zone 322 for Springville, LLC, Bob Selleck's company. Okay? Any comments? Mr. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. I'll be presenting this item. So first, just a brief summary. This is a request for a general plan amendment and an amendment to the Airport North specific plan and a change of zoning for 26 acres of a 46-acre site to go from an industrial land use to general commercial. The property is generally located in the southwest quadrant of the Springville interchange, adjacent to the 101 freeway and Springville Drive, as depicted here in this aerial photograph in the hatching. While the general plan and change of zone does not approve architectural or site plan drawings, there is a depiction of what would be anticipated if the property land use designation was changed to commercial, and it shows a very large big box destination retail use taking up a large portion of the project, and then ancillary commercial uses on the balance of the property, with industrial zoning and land use to remain on this property and this portion of the property. There are current entitlements in place that date back to June of 2011 when a tentative track map 5812 was approved. And that tentative track map was for a subdivision of 46 acres into 25 parcels for industrial research and development under the zoning of light manufacturing It included a certified EIR to permit up to 700,000 square feet of light industrial and office uses. Those entitlements are in place today, and the change of the general plan would ultimately negate those entitlements. So in terms of background, this general plan amendment was presented to the City Council as a referral request in January of 2014. And at that time, the applicant requested that 16 acres of the property be considered for residential development. That portion of the request was ultimately denied due to incompatibility with the adjacent airport and the other surrounding land uses. However, the City Council did refer approximately 24 acres to be considered for further analysis for retail change for the property to go from industrial to general commercial, so long as the project included a regional destination retailer. Otherwise, the council made it clear that they would want the land use reverted back to industrial if the property owner could not accomplish the goal of attracting and constructing a regional destination retail business as part of this general plan amendment project. So that brings us to the current application, which was filed back in May of 2014, and it does include a request to change 26 acres of the overall site from industrial to commercial, which would leave 20 acres of the remaining property as an industrial land use. The environmental document analyzed proposed commercial uses up to 170,000 square foot big box destination retailer with an additional 98,500 square feet of ancillary retail uses for a total of commercial space at 268,500 square feet. The applications do include a draft agreement with the owner that would require the project to include a regional destination retail use. Otherwise, the industrial land use could remain in place or be reverted back to industrial without that agreement. So the application does have merit, and staff feels that there are findings that can be made so that the proposed general plan and specific plan amendment and change of zone would accommodate an extension of adjoining commercial land use designations further west along the U.S. Highway 101 Ventura Freeway corridor. And it also provides a logical terminus to adjoining commercial districts adjacent to Springville Road and the freeway interchange. The amendments also provide greater flexibility for development of commercial areas with a larger envelope for a greater variety of commercial uses, including specifically a city-approved regional destination retail use on this site. At the time of the GPA referral, Council's direction was definitely for staff to include a requirement that would allow for a general plan land use designation and related zone change, that if it was approved, there would be a mechanism to revert from commercial back to industrial if a regional destination retail project was not timely pursued, approved, and developed. Since that time, staff has worked diligently with our city attorney's office and Mr. Selleck and his counsel for many months to come forward with the prepared draft agreement that would accomplish the City Council's goals and direction. So on June of this year, the City Council considered a request from the applicant where the requested that the regional destination retail use were to be removed as a requirement, as a condition of this GPA. But ultimately, the City Council voted unanimously to keep and preserve this requirement in place as part of the general plan amendment as a condition of the approval, if that's what ultimately occurs. So on July 1st, after we had continued to work on the agreement, the applicant ultimately submitted a letter to staff that commits to the agreement that does require a regional destination retailer requirement that would be applied to the general plan amendment and related land use entitlements if it were to move forward. So that's been drafted and everyone has agreed, and we have it in writing from the applicant and property owner that they do agree to the terms of the agreement as drafted. So the agreement terms are generalized on this slide, and again, approval of the general plan and change of zone and Airport North specific plan amendments are conditioned in that it requires a regional destination retail use through this agreement. The first step is for the developer to present a proposed regional destination retail use to the City Council for the Council's approval within 1 year of the agreement. Thereafter, the applicant must file a commercial plan development application within 6 months of the City Council's approval of a regional destination retail use. And then after the CPD were to be approved, then they would be required to apply for a building permit within 1 year and begin construction following CPD or commercial plan development approval. And then following construction, they must commence the use within 3 months of the certificate of occupancy. So failure to meet any of the agreement milestones would allow the city to initiate the reversion process to convert the property back to an industrial land use and zoning. There has been an update to the environmental impact report. So what we have prepared is known as a subsequent environmental impact report. There was a 45-day public review period, and we received 7 letters commenting on the draft EIR. We responded to those comments, and we presented the draft subsequent EIR to the Planning Commission, which also reviewed the applications that are before tonight, and they also reviewed the response to comments that were prepared by our consultant. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended that the City Council approve the general plan amendment to the specific plan, the change of zone, the agreement, and the subsequent EIR. Suffice it to say that the final subsequent EIR has been prepared for the consideration by the City Council, and that it does indicate that the project will not generate significant environmental impacts with mitigation. So that brings us to our recommended action, and staff does support the application and the agreement, and we recommend that you would adopt a resolution to certify the final EIR, make a motion to adopt a resolution to approve the general plan amendment and Airport North specific plan amendment to change the land use element designation from industrial research and development to general commercial for 26 acres of the 46-acre project site. That you also make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. And that finally, you request a reading of the title and make a motion to waive further reading and introduce an ordinance to approve a change of zone for the approximately 26-acre site from limited manufacturing zoning to commercial plan development. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions, and I do know that the applicant is available to speak as well.
Mr. Little.
Mr. Vaca, I would like if you would just describe so that people out in the audience may understand what a regional destination retailer is. You could give some examples of that.
A regional destination retailer is one that would draw customers from a wider radius than a local grocery store. So an example would be the IKEA in Burbank, where I think patrons from Ventura County travel outside of Ventura County into LA County, specifically to Burbank to shop at the IKEA because it draws from a regional basis and there aren't multiple IKEA outlets throughout the state. There's only a handful.
Just want you to know this is not an IKEA, by the way. That's just an example.
That is an example.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Kevin?
Yeah, Joe, that clause about if something doesn't happen, it reverts back to the industrial cognition that it is now. Again, what's the time frame for that? Did I see a year? Is a time frame?
There's a variety of milestones, so there's a variety of incremental time frames that they must achieve. And if they don't achieve one, the city would have the ability to begin the reversion process, which would require public hearings to change it back to industrial.
And those milestones?
Approximately, when you add everything up, it's approximately 4 years or so.
And the applicant is aware of that and is
absolutely,
willing to go forward
and
with
he's
that.
here. He could testify to that as well.
Other questions? Jan?
When we looked at that timetable and you said it was a total of 4 years, and you don't have it up there. If you went all the way through it, the last one is they had to occupy it within 3 months of receiving their certificate of occupancy. But how can you revert it back to industrial if you've already got the buildings built?
Well, that's actually one of the last steps, and at that point they would have satisfied the terms of the agreement, because at that point the city would have already approved the regional destination retail use, approved the CPD, approved the building permit, and then approved the certificate of occupancy, and they would be in operation.
But that's my point. Why do we have time tables that, because it said it will revert back. How can you revert it
Well,
back
no.
once you've done all of that?
If they satisfy all those terms, they satisfy the terms of the agreement. It wouldn't revert back. It'd remain commercial.
It doesn't revert back and meets them all.
That last step is occupancy of the regional destination
Can you
retail
put that
use.
thing, that timetable back up on the?
Yes. So this last step, number 4,
Right.
would be commencement of the use, which means that a certificate of occupancy for people to be in the building and operate the retail use would have to commence within 3 months of that certificate of occupancy. So what normally happens is a business gets their certificate of occupancy, they hire their staff, they train their staff, they stock their shelves, and then they open the store, and that's officially the commencement of use. So this last step is that commencement of use must happen within 3 months of the certificate of occupancy. And if they were to do that, then they would meet the agreement milestones and they would be satisfying the terms of the agreement and we'd be satisfied.
And let's go the other way. They do it in 4 months. And if I read that chart, it says failure to do that within 3 months, the failure to meet the agreement milestones allows the city to initiate a reversion process.
Yes.
How can you do a reversion process after it's built?
It'd be very challenging at that point, you're right.
Well, let me ask a
And Don
So this
Davis
doesn't make
is here.
sense to me. I'm sorry.
Don Davis is here and he was very helpful in crafting the agreement, so I'm going to actually ask for his assistance on that question.
I think you actually gave the right answer. I think at that point, then, if something's built that's ready and available for commercial use, that we would probably not. Remember, the council's ability, if you approve this, to initiate the reversion process is completely discretionary. It's not a mandate. So really, as I think Director Vaca was trying to emphasize, the milestones are really intended for the initial ones to identify the developer, to get the CPD permit and to pull a building permit and to start construction. I think once you get to that point, then there's much limited interest in the city to pull, to initiate the reversion process there, because you'd have a structure that would be suitable for commercial use, so I think fair point in here, but we did include that as a mandate again to push them to
Move it along.
not just build something, but really open it up.
So it's more to give them a timetable to which we expect
Yes.
them to.
Correct.
To move.
And I will
We're not
add-
saying we're going to revert it at that point.
That's correct. And for the sake of discussion, let's assume for a moment that they did satisfy all of the requirements and they obtained a building permit and they started construction, but then the retail use left. Then we still would have the ability to revert, and we may want to do that. The city may want to initiate a reversion, and then a partially constructed building could then be used for industrial. So that's why there are milestones, and we do want to monitor this closely, and we also want to ensure through this agreement that we really do have some teeth in the agreement to force progress, or the city will have the ability to initiate the reversion.
Mr. Mayor?
So-
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, I just, a few more, can I finish? So along the way, we approve and agree upon the retail, or the regional
Yes.
retailer.
Yes, that's the very first step.
Can that be changed at all, or does the city always have to agree on it?
The city must always agree on the regional destination retail use, but for example, if you were to approve one, and then for some reason the developer and that retail use decide that they're not going to be able to enter into an agreement for development, then the property owner would have to come back to the city again for approval of an alternative retailer. And it would still have to be a regional destination retailer subject to the council's approval.
And that has to occur before any other step happens?
Yes.
So they have to have an agreement with that retailer?
Yes. And then the commercial plan development would be tailored to that retail use as part of the plan development permit application review process.
And the other questions I had, can you just explain for the public probably the two biggest issues right now whenever we're looking at any project is traffic and water. So can you just give a little overview about how they're going to mitigate those issues?
Yes. Yes, I can. Thank you. So in regards to the traffic, we analyzed this in comparison with what had already been certified for the prior industrial project. So the proposed project would generate more daily traffic than the entitled industrial, and it would generate slightly more traffic during the PM peak. So it would have to mitigate for that. However, no significant traffic impacts would occur as a result of the recent improvements with the study area intersections and the completion of the Springville Drive 101 interchange.
So what would this project have to do to mitigate their impact?
The remaining mitigation measure would be to address a traffic signal at the intersection of West Ventura Boulevard and A Street, which is not yet constructed, and then no additional mitigation would be required.
So would they have to construct that street as well?
That would be part of any development.
And then water.
And then water. So the proposed project would use approximately 44% less water than the entitled industrial project, and a new mitigation measure is recommended to enable the City of Camarillo's Water Division to provide water to the site with no reduction of existing water supplies. So this is the similar mitigation that we've been applying on other recently approved projects.
So it's less, they've already entitled, so it's
Yes.
kind of an even trade.
Another thing, can I add to that real quick? There also going to be a fee posted on that property to mitigate water going into the canal that goes out to someday a catch basin. County fee?
Well, that fee hasn't been established yet. The
No, but
county's
when it
trying to
does,
work on
it apply to them also?
It may or may not. We don't know that yet.
Okay.
And my last one goes back to the definition of a regional retail destination. So it truly has to be it can't be a Walmart,
No.
because we have Walmarts. So it
No.
truly has to be something that takes them beyond the county.
Yes, typically it would capture people traveling from as far north as Santa Barbara or San Luis Obispo counties, and obviously from LA, Inland Empire, Orange County.
Because we sit in the center of the county, it's pretty easy to say it won't be something that currently exists in Ventura County then.
Right. And ultimately, the City Council, once again, does have the full discretionary approval of that regional destination retail use as part of the proposed agreement.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Kevin?
Yeah, Joe, as we all know, some regional destination retailers are in really good financial shape, and some of them may not be in as good financial shape. So at some point, will we be made aware of who potential that destination retailer may be?
Yes, the first step would be for the City Council to review and approve any proposed regional destination retail use.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I forgot, I do have
question.
one more.
Okay.
So they bring forward a retailer, we approve it, they build it, they move in, and for some reason, they leave. What then?
I'd actually defer to Dawn on that one.
Have an empty building.
We have an empty building, yeah.
Because it is a retail building, it is a regional. You have an empty building that someone's got to find somewhere to occupy.
But they can't divide it up, or is it still, the city is still in control, so to speak, about who goes in there?
If it failed, you mean, if it...
Right, if the original one was gone.
And if it failed, then, again, as I indicated per your prior question, I think, the construction point, I think the city's sort of committing itself to a commercial use there. So if that use would fail, then it would be subject to the zoning and have to, reopen, get new approvals for that use.
So 2 or 3 years from now, it opens, it's successful for 2 years, and then it closes. So then, again, it comes back to city approval of who goes in there?
No, I think the agreement would probably be satisfied at that point, and it would just be commercial land, and it would be a vacant building, and it'd be something that the city would try to work through with the property owner.
But theoretically, they could divide it up because it's commercial?
Yes, absolutely.
But it would require new discretionary entitlements to do
Right.
that.
And as big a building as it would be, it's not going to be just a couple, 3 little ones. It's going to be something big in there if that happened. Okay. Any other questions? We through now? Okay. We're going to open the public hearing at this time. And I have one card. Bob Selleck.
Mayor Morgan, Vice Mayor McDonald, Councilmember Craven, Councilmember Bill Little, and Councilmember Kevin Kildee, Dave Norman, Brian Pierik. Thanks to all of you for working so hard and being patient to get me to this point. I want to especially thank staff. Originally, we worked very closely with Public Works and doing our tentative map on the industrial piece, and more recently, we've worked very closely with Joe Vaca and Don Davis, in addition to Brian Pierik. And I think the presentation that Joe made is totally accurate, the questions that you've asked. I clearly understand them. I do feel, there aren't very many destination retailers. They're hard to find. I would think that probably within the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to know one way or the other whether we can make that work. And if we can't, we may very well want to go back to the and record a parcel map and move forward with the industrial project. That's our plan. That's the alternative. The industrial project is entitled, but it does expire next June. So we have to decide whether we're going to kind of do a parallel path and work towards recording the map. We fully realize that we can't record that map unless the property was zoned industrial, back to industrial. So we're committed and we're anxious to continue our efforts in trying to get the commitment from the destination retailer. We've talked to a number of them, but they're like we were all saying, they're few and far between. We want to make sure that they're financially viable, and they have to be in order for us to be able to finance the project. So with that, I'm open to any questions that you may have. And do my best to answer them. Bill?
So the 1 year from the date of acceptance of this agreement, you have 1 year under that to find a destination region. What you're saying is you've got other reasons to find them sooner, or you're going to be considering going in another way. Is that what I understand?
Yes. I know that there are things that these destination retailers, like I say, they're few and far between. So we hope to get them to look at this as a priority deal for them. And I think we have a very good chance of making that happen. I know we have a very good chance of that. But if for some reason they decide that they're just not ready to do something within a time frame that's meaningful to us, because we don't own this property free and clear, we have a loan in place. And so we have a responsibility to try to get something done with the property that works. Obviously, our preference after all this work and time and effort on our part and all of your part would be to do the destination retail project. But if for whatever reason we can't make that work, we would be coming back to you and probably requesting the reversion.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Kevin?
Yeah, Bob. As a fellow retailer, of course, there's been a lot of consolidation, as you're well aware of, in the retail business community. And my question to you is, obviously, we want to make sure that whoever that destination retailer may be obviously has a very strong financial background to be able to put this in place and push it over the goal line here. So as you said, and I commend you for this, that there's not a lot of destination retailers out there, but I'm assuming that the ones that are, you'll be looking very closely at their financials and make sure that they can come in and they can, if they do get this approval, that they can build a high quality project, which is what we insist here in town, and obviously that they can make a go of it as well.
Yes, and the conversations we've been having with the primary couple of destination retailers we've been talking about are both interested in doing build-to-suits. So in order for us to finance a build-to-suit transaction where we're going to essentially be paying for the cost of the building, and then they'd be leasing it for a 20 or 25-year period, we're going to have to not only get you comfortable with the financials, but we're going to have to, even more importantly, get our lender comfortable with the financials, or we're not going to be able to fund the construction loan that we need to build the project.
Thank you.
Other comments? Thanks, Bob, for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I have no other cards at this moment regarding this project. Anyone else wish to? We have one. You have to fill out a card, but come on up.
Barbara Williams, but I know you guys know me. Mayor Morgan, I just have a quick question in regards to the traffic. It was very clear that work, at the Springville interchange will benefit this, but for customers that are coming from the western part of the county or from the north, they would most likely be using the Central Avenue exit. Mm-hmm. Is there work going to be done at the Central Avenue exit in order to improve that interchange? Because right now, it's, a one-lane road with a stop sign and, a couple stop signs along the way. And so my question is there going to be something done there to preclude other traffic for those of us who utilize that exit?
We've been pushing Caltrans, and I'd like the staff, if you had any recent comments from Caltrans about that Central Bridge, because they've got the bridges all, the roadway is all, what would you say? It's all cracked up. It's one of those you'd never see in our streets, but it's their street, unfortunately. Go ahead.
There has been no recent action or indication from Caltrans that they'll be moving anytime soon with improvements there. As you mentioned, it's been a long time project and need on the city's radar that needs to be coordinated with Caltrans, but it's clearly in their court to proceed with any improvements there in the future. So,
can we take some pictures and try to push them a little more, because if you haven't seen it lately, you've got to look at it. You would never see that in any streets in any city. Well, I didn't say that, but most cities would never have streets like that. It's all alligatored. We know what alligatored means, but deep alligatored. And I don't see how they get away with it. But can staff look at that a little harder, push them a little bit so we can see what we can get out of it?
We'll do our best.
Okay.
I have a question.
Thanks for the comment.
Question on that, Mike,
Kevin?
if I would. I just want to make sure that I'm reasonable on this. Most of the traffic will be used on the Springville interchange with this, will it not?
Yes.
Well, sometimes when it gets a little busy, Central's going to be used too. Weekends, it's like the Factory Outlet Mall, weekends get heavy. Maybe it's not that heavy, and during the week it's okay. But sometimes you get a regional one like that brings people in, it might be heavier than you think. And so it'd be nice to have two different ways of getting into that place. I agree with her. Any other comments? Okay. Comments about motions?
Now close the public hearing?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Close the public hearing at this time. Anyone?
I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution certifying the final subsequent environmental impact report, SEIR number 2014-8, for the GPA 2014-2, CZ 322, and companion application prepared and circulated in accordance with the city and the state guidelines.
Second.
Before we move forward, can we do all these at once?
No.
No. Okay. We've done that before in some other items. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Other comments?
I guess I have a comment, and I'm sitting here just really pondering the future, and I think the part that bothers me about this is ending up with a big old huge white elephant sitting out there with nothing in it. And that's the part that I'm just real hesitant about. So I know we've kind of gone down a path before where something gets approved and then it doesn't work out, and we end up with zoning that doesn't work out. So I guess that's what's bothering me about, and why I'm hesitant about this is what could happen, 2 or 3 years out. And
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Bill?
Maybe someone can assure me, because that's what's bothering me.
I'm not a retailer to assure you, but it seems to me that what you heard Mr. Selick say was that he was going to make very sure that they were financially able to do what they are saying they're going to do and to perform after they're in place, because he is going to be, he and his lender is going to be carrying the papers on that building, and will be on the hook if it doesn't make the.
It's not just that. There's some other thing, too. If he doesn't get this building, which would be beneficial to our city, like you won't believe, if he doesn't get this building, or somebody walks out like a white elephant, you say, or whatever, he'll have industrial in there. Also, if we didn't approve this, he has told you he's going to ask for that industrial to be redone. That means we have a lot of industrial in there, and we have industrial places sitting vacant all over the place right now.
But he's not going to build it, have a retailer come in and be in there for 2 or 3 years and then go to industrial. It's done. Industrial is no longer on the table once this project is built.
I don't mean that. I meant if we don't vote on this now and it goes back to industrial, it's the same problem exists.
I don't have any problem with industrial. I think if you talk to EDC-VC, they say how you need to grow jobs and what is this county missing, and it's actually low on industrial property. So I don't have a fear of industrial property the way you do. That's just what's bothering me about this is because who would have thought, look at all the consolidations it did. Who would have thought that we'd end up with one major sporting goods store in the country anymore, you know, that you would lose Sports Authority and Sports Chalet, and what are we down to? Dick's is the only one left in the county. Who would have thought that would have happened, you know, with the way things are going? That's where I'm just being a little hesitant on this and not quite as gung-ho as
Can I
otherwise
just
be.
make just one
Evan?
comment? And I'm not, necessarily trying to comfort you, but one of the things about the consolidation in the retail segment, those of us that are still left, actually their balance sheets are in fairly good shape for the most part. Now this, Jan, you're absolutely right. There's no guarantees in any of this, but it's kind of like the last retailer standing kind of thing now. So the ones that are left are actually fairly strong financially to a certain extent. Again, it may happen, but, it's just like the applicant said, there isn't very many to pick from. So I'm sure the lender is going to be real particular about who they approve here, even more so than if they had a whole bunch in the economy and retail was really good. So now it's really tough to get a loan there because they really look at you really hard. So I don't know if that helps or not, but it's a comment.
Okay, any comments before we vote? Please vote. That passes 4 to 1 with Jan and voting against.
Move to adopt a resolution approving General Plan Amendment 2014-2 and the corresponding amendment to the Airport North Specific Plan to change the land use element designation from industrial, research and development to general commercial for 26 acres of the 46-acre project site.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Comments? Please vote. That again passes 4 to 1 with Jan against. Next. Motion?
Move to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement regarding general plan amendment and zone change and record the agreement with the county recorder.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Please vote. That motion passes 4 to 1 with Jan voting against. Now we're going to go to, I'd like to have a request for reading of the title.
This is Ordinance 1130, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Camarillo, rezoning certain real property from limited manufacturing LM zone to commercial planned development CPD zone for 26 acres located south of the U.S. Highway 101 Ventura Freeway, west of Springville Drive, north of the Camarillo Airport, just east of West Ventura Boulevard, further described as change of zone 322.
Did an attorney write that?
Wasn't me.
Your Honor, I haven't commented, but I think this project is going to be very good for the city.
We've got one more motion to make.
Okay, I'm making a comment.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought we were through with that. Go ahead.
Then I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll start again. I think this is, we never had a chance for comments, so I'm making my comment now. I think this project is going to be very good for the city. I'm very hopeful that it will move on to fruition. I know it's taken a long time, but I just think that you have to sometimes take a chance, and we do have the agreement, which we have already approved, that I think makes it even tighter. So I will move to waive further reading and to introduce the ordinance approving a change of zone number 322 for the approximate 26 acres site from limited manufacturing to commercial plan development.
We're move, a second, please.
I'll second with the comment.
No, and we're all going to make our comments now. Your turn, Bill.
All right. Well, the reason I'm supporting this is because I think that, first of all, there's plenty of time frames in here that will give us, and I know because the owner of the property is going to be basically financing the project, he's going to be making sure that his funding is going to be protected. So I'm confident whatever he shows up with as a regional retailer that they're going to be well vetted as far as their financial abilities. But the other thing I think for us is that this could be, if it's successful, and there's no reason not to think so, that this could be an extra incentive for people to come and not spend one day there and one day at our outlets, and in turn strengthen the outlets and the other shopping that is in the area, as well as having a new source of shopping with this regional retailer. I think it's going to be an enhancement to our existing retail, as well as to itself as a new retail venture in the county.
Have any comments?
Well, I think there's, in retail, nothing is guaranteed. That's just the way it is. I open up my doors, and if somebody doesn't come in and buy something for me, I don't make any money that day. That's the life of a retailer. But what this does is it potentially could put on the map Camarillo of getting a type of retail that we don't have now, a unique retail. It's somewhat. I remember having the conversation many years ago with my father about the factory outlets coming in. It was a totally different type of retail than what Camarillo had, and it's always the right time to do what's best for the city. So this is, in my opinion, worth taking a chance on and see if we can get this destination retail, as Councilmember Little said, for various reasons and a lot of multipliers as well. So that's why I'm supporting this.
I'd like to make a couple comments. First, our city's general plan is almost finished, folks. It's almost done. When we get through polishing it up and making sure we have the things that not just we need, but furnish us with money that keeps our streets in great shape, money that keeps our police department in good shape, and all that stuff. It prepares us for the future. And this kind of it's like the Factory Outlet Mall is one of those, but it's much bigger than what this property is. So we will have people coming, but also will benefit our city for the future. And I'd rather see something that produces money for the city to take care of our city. That's why we're AAA rated. There's only a few cities in California AAA rated. And because we've kept that in mind on how to keep our city in good shape. And that would just, if this comes along and does something that benefits us, plus it's probably going to be a place that every one of you want to shop. But it's one of those I think will add tremendously to our community, finishing it up, the last part of our community. Okay? Please vote. That passes 4-1 with Jen objecting. Okay, let's move on to the next item. That would be the Urban Water Management Plan update.
It's been continued, I believe.
Thought you were going to withdraw.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
I'm turning it over to the city manager on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff request that this item be, the public hearing be opened and then continued until the meeting of October 12th.
So this item will be continued to October the 12th.
Yes, you need to open the public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll open a public hearing.
I suggest also that there may, if there's anybody from the public that's here that can't be here on October 12th and they want to speak tonight, we give them that opportunity.
I have no cards, but is there anyone who would like to speak to this item this evening about our water management plan? Seeing none, we'll continue the item until October 12th. We'll keep it open until then.
Thank you.
Okay, now departmental items. Camarillo Springs debris. Folks, you're here. We finally made it. The Springs debris flow barriers.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. This item before you tonight is to consider a change order for clean out of Camarillo Springs debris flow barriers, project ER 1502. First, a little recap, go back in history a little bit on the project. Council is very familiar with the construction that recently occurred early in 2016. Initially, after the fire in 2013 and then subsequent rainstorms in fall and winter of 2014, the city partnered with the HOAs and the property owners in the area in a response to the intent to reduce the risk from debris flow, future debris flow coming off of the mountain as a result of the fire and subsequent rains. City Council authorized and went forward with the project, partnering with the Camarillo Springs HOAs to facilitate the NRCS projects, to widen the platform areas, and partnered with them on this project that occurred on private property not owned by the city. And as a follow-up to that, to continue installation of more mitigation against future debris flows, a project was then put into design and eventually construction of the debris barriers that are up there today. The 3 Broncas that channel debris down the hill. The barriers were installed, 3 lower barriers at the mouths of those Broncas, and then on 2 of the Broncas, the 2 upper barriers. The estimated overall cost for the construction and purchase of those debris barriers was right around $2 million that the city paid and had the debris barriers installed that are out there today. Construction was completed in early January. We experienced some rains in January, early January. Some debris did come down off the upper mountain and from the Broncas and were captured behind the debris barriers. At that time, if you recall, we were under the expectation of El Nino to show up. And moving forward through the rest of the rainy season, Council prudently and proactively put in place a contract change order number 3 at that time to be able to mobilize and clean out the debris barriers upon need as we went through the rainy season. Subsequently, we find ourselves here today. No debris had been removed up from the debris barriers. The 2 upper barriers are pretty well full and did their job and contained the debris that did come down in the rains that we did have. The 3 lower barriers have a minor amount of debris in them. That initial change order number 3 was constructed to be able to remove up to approximately 10,000 cubic yards of material in the event that amount of material did come down. And total change order cost approval that council gave on that was $119,000. The removal of that debris was planned to then be placed at a location on the hill up there and in a stockpiled form on site. And at this time, it was before the council to consider if a clean out of the debris barriers is performed. The recommendation is to remove that material and haul it off site. And so the proposal before you is for another change order number 4, which first action would be to rescind the previous change order number 3 and add in the cost of trucking, which would be an additional cost to not only remove the debris from behind the barriers and then truck that off-site to a disposal area outside of the city at this time is what we expect. So that's the item before you tonight, to consider that change order. And it would take an appropriation of an additional $81,000 to add on to that previous appropriation of $119,000 that council previously authorized.
So we're approximately $200,000 we're going to add.
Correct, approximately $200,000 total. So that concludes my report. I could give additional details as to the status of the project if so desired, but that I'm available for questions.
Questions, Kevin?
Yeah, David, I just want to make sure that I'm right on this. So change order number 1 is $200,000, and is it plus another $81,000 that were asked for tonight?
No. As far as change order numbers go, and I'll back up, we did issue a change order number 1, and it was actually a no-cost change order that modified some of the construction design and construction process. Change order number 2, we approved for $4,000 for some minor regrading work and clean out during construction that needed to occur. Then we found ourselves at change order number 3, which council did authorize and approve with an appropriation of $119,000. Now, change order number 4 is going to be in place to do the same thing, to do the clean out of the barriers at $119,000. But then an additional $81,000 for a total of $200,000 would be required to include the trucking of the material.
And that includes the trucking of the material off-site, which was not in the original.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions? I just have one question so the audience knows. How much will this add to what we've already paid? What will be our total that we've added into this project since the beginning?
So, well, for construction of the installation of the barriers and the material purchase of the barrier, what we did is the city pre-ordered and purchased the debris barrier material. If you recall, again under imminent threat of El Nino was coming, and in November we placed the order for the materials, roughly around $300,000 to $400,000 for that. $1.7 million for the construction, so just a little over $2 million for the construction and installation of the debris barrier. So this would add another $200,000 to that.
$200,000 to that.
There was also $250,000 for the NRCS project to add to the total.
That's correct.
So about $2.5 million.
Well, if you... Yeah.
Total.
Correct.
Okay. No other questions, any comments? Let me open the public hearing at this time. My first spokesman.
It's not a public hearing, Your Honor.
Oh, it's not. Well, I got comments on this one, a lot of comments. And so, anyone object to my taking public comments? No. Okay. Well, I'm just going to open it right now and take comments. Matt Lorimer, I'm not going to put you at the end, Matt. I'm going to put you at the beginning. How's that?
I'll go at any end you'd like, Mr. Morgan. You know, I've been coming to the City Council for many years. You know, behind you is the flag, United States of America. We pledge allegiance to the flag. You know, I pledge allegiance to the people in this community. You guys are public servants. You're here to represent the people. And you know, for 12 months, I was down here when the people of Camarillo Springs, they had an idea. They wanted a certain type of debris holder. And for many months they came down here, because I'm down here all the time, obviously. And they were really passionate. They wanted something. You decided on something different. And today, I think they're frustrated. You see them in the audience. They want to move on with their lives. They look for direction. They look for help. You know, people come here. I come here. People come here for different issues all the time during the year. You know, sometimes you think I'm picking on you. I'm not. I'm standing up for people because there's not enough people to do that in this world. And these people need your help. You know, it's really important that great ideas don't always come from here. They come out there. And you know something? There's a lot to learn in this world, and you never should stop learning. And I think it's important that you take another look at this. You know, you just said the city is rated a AA. Sometimes I feel you don't treat your AAA double A, whatever you want to say it. Sometimes I feel you treat the people like a triple C or a triple D, because sometimes you don't have the passion or the feeling to understand what they're going through. When people come here for 12 months, okay, I was here, you know, and they take times out of life, they're retired, they pay taxes, you know. Sometimes you have to look at different ideas and different opinions. And, you know, they want to move forward, and they can't move forward. You know why? Because we're still here. Something is not working. And maybe you guys need to look in the mirror and say, maybe we should listen to somebody else. Maybe we should listen to the people who come here, who pay the taxes, who want something better, and maybe take the time to listen to them. It's really important. You know I come here and I see a lot of different things, but again, at the end of the day, I support the people of Camarillo Springs. You know why? Because they pay the taxes, and you know something? This mudslide that happened, you know, the 25,000 acres that burned, you know, the mudslide came through their homes, and they were looking for help, and they're looking for leadership. And leadership starts with you. And I really think you should really open your eyes and take a look and listen to the people here tonight. And sometimes it's okay to say, maybe we should try something different and listen to the people in the audience. And I hope you will think about that tonight. Thank you.
Matt, before you leave, you might have some questions, which I have one. Were you out there when the floods happened both times, watching the mud and seeing what the problem was and calling for help for them? Were you?
Okay, wait a minute,
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Morgan. No, wait a minute, Mr. Morgan. You just put me on the spot. First of all, Mr. Morgan, no, I wasn't out there. You know why? Because I had to make a living. But you know something, Morgan? I came here every day, and I spoke up for those people. And you know something? I didn't have to. Wait, let me finish. You called me out. I didn't have to speak up, but you know why I did it? Because I'm a man of the people. I care about people. I care about the seniors. I care about everybody in this community. And you know something? Taking a swipe at me because I wasn't there is not acceptable. I don't appreciate that.
Matt,
I don't think, no, wait. I don't think that's leadership. No, let me finish. You called me out. I don't think that is right to treat me like that. I'm a citizen. I came here because I care about these people, and I spoke up for them. Okay, maybe I wasn't out there in the mud, but you know something? My heart and soul, I believe in what I care about. And these people need your help. And you know something? Maybe you should listen instead of talking. Thank you.
Next. Next person is Bob Kelly.
Honorable Mayor, council people, and all these fine people here. I have not much to say. I live in Camarillo. I live on San Como Road. It's the famous road where all the houses are. And I'm even the Gitana, the other street. The Gitana is my driveway. That leads right into my garage. So I am connected with that. And the water that came down on the north part of Camarillo actually was to go underneath my house, because I have the Springs has the easement past underneath my house for all that water was supposed to go there. It never got to me. You know, I walked out there when it was raining and coming down and looking at the spillway, and there was no water coming down. When the sun came up, I know where it went, and then it went down the other way the other time. But all I have really to say, I don't know how this is going to come out, and I don't know about all the problems we have over there or anything, and I'm just going to ask you one thing. If we can't get this settled and the rains come back or the fires come back, please say a prayer for all these elderly citizens. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Barbara Williams. I didn't forget you, Barbara.
Well, I appreciate what the city has done in Camarillo Springs. The public needs to know how our community is being treated. In the mid-1980s, the city of Camarillo approved the Springs Senior Development. You approved plans for the developer to cut off the toes of alluvial fans to build homes right at the base of Conejo Mountain. You approved V-ditches and drains that were only designed to carry water and light sediment. People bought homes and trusted the city did their due diligence. Many of the residents today are on fixed incomes and struggle to decide what to give up in order to pay bills. Many put everything into their last home. We did not start the Springs fire in 2013, nor cause the disastrous debris flows in 2014. However, the city seems to think that we need to pay for work on Conejo on property we don't own. On December 8, 2014, in what is tantamount to bullying, city officials met with Camera Springs officials and said we must maintain the work that the NRCS planned to do. When asked, they had not contacted the actual property owners to maintain their own property. In the early morning hours of December 12, 2014, I was in the command center and watched as debris filled the camera and came down, increasing the number of red tagged homes from 1 to 10 and adding 6 yellow and green tagged homes. All agreed the NRCS plan would not have worked. Later, I went with another resident to check out a longtime friend's home. We called to tell her and her husband rocks filled their bedroom where they would have been sleeping if they had not evacuated. Throughout the first 8 months of 2015, after 3 debris platforms were completed, many of us constantly asked the city to get the property owners to further abate the nuisance on Conejo Mountain the city had declared in December 2014. It took dire predictions for a strong El Nino before the city had hired Dr. Kane. Again, you bullied us. We were called into mediation and told if we did not contribute and pay for maintenance, the city would not do Dr. Kane's project. This time, you included the property owners. We pointed out the Springs, the Common Area Association, and Country Club Village had spent over $500,000 in cleanup and repairs, but the property owners had paid zero. Fearing nothing was going to be done to protect us from El Nino, the Camera Springs project was developed with strict constraints and agreements. We were coerced into picking up maintenance along with the property owners who still had paid nothing. A few months later, you decided to do Dr. Kane's debris bury project on your own, making liability yours. No maintenance agreement was required, and the city budgeted the $119,000. A month ago, you brought together property owners and Springs representatives. The city said they would not give permits to rebuild and would not clean out the platforms until there was a maintenance agreement among the Springs community and the 2 sets of property owners, forcing us to maintain a project you did on your own and now refuse to maintain. Dr. Kane said he saw no reason to withhold the permits. Now we have what appears to be extortion along with that bullying. You need to take care of the work you did, not seniors on fixed income. You need to go to the actual property owners.
Thank you for your comments, Barbara. Barry Gilbert.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sound like a commercial. My name is Barry Gilbert, and I'm on the Springs HOA board. First off, we want to thank the City of Camarillo, the mayor and the city council and the city staff for all the past help that you've provided to us. We request that the city council protect the health and safety of Camarillo Springs residents by approving the Camarillo Springs debris flow barrier cleanup agenda item to maintain debris barriers and platforms the city constructed on Conejo Mountain, and also to issue building permits to 5 affected Springs homeowners. Many of our 259 senior Springs homeowners exist on fixed incomes. We can't afford higher HOA dues to maintain a mountain that we don't own. So we just want to thank you, and hopefully you'll approve the motion tonight, the agenda item anyway. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Barry. Ted Elliott.
Good evening. Mayor Morgan, council members, staff. My name is Ted Elliott. I live at 6390 San Como Lane in the Springs. First and foremost, I want to thank the city for all the work that has been done in Camarillo Springs since October 31st, 2014, and for the expected vote this evening to approve cleaning of the debris barriers. By the way, I would expect the same treatment for any other community in Camarillo. God forbid they would have a disaster like ours. I believe that the primary purpose of city government is to protect the health, well-being, and property values of its residents. With respect to the Springs, I have a question and a comment. My question: does the scope of work for the $200,000 being discussed tonight include any work on the Young erosion area? My comment: the failure of the city to issue building permits on 5 homes after nearly 2 years is adversely affecting the property values in the Springs, especially along San Como Lane. Our street has looked like a war zone far too long. If in fact the city believes that the debris barrier project was sufficient to protect the residents, Camarillo citizens living at the base of Conejo Mountain, then I see no reason that my property value should be held hostage any longer. Either the properties along San Como are safe or they are not. Either issue permits or declare the 5 homes without permits to be unsafe and condemn the homes. My wife and I, as individuals, have no control of whether or not agreement can be achieved with the affected landowners. The association, the landowners and the association as demanded by the city. However, our property value is affected each and every day until some agreement is reached. Most of the homeowners that suffered damage to their homes have rebuilt, but the 5 remaining homes without permits are an eyesore, present a health and safety issue, and negatively affect the market value of all our homes. Please help us to return our neighborhood to a place of which we can be proud. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Steve West.
My name is Steve West. I'm a member of the Camarillo Springs Board. You, the Camarillo Springs City Council, on November 4th, 2015, via a vote, chose to fund and implement the Kane construction project on Longo Trust-owned property. By voting to choose the Kane project, the City Council by default rejected the Springs project, a project sponsored by Tom Staben, the Longo Trust, and the Camarillo Springs Common Area Association. The Springs Common Area Association is a separate legal entity from the Camarillo Springs HOA. The latter, a senior community of 259 homes located at the bottom of the Conejo Mountain and in harm's way from dirt, rocks, and mud originating up mountain on Staben and Longo-owned property. Be it known, the Springs HOA was not a part of what became known as the Springs Project. It has zero, none, no obligation nor responsibility to participate in the maintenance of improvements on Longo-owned hillside property adjacent to Springs HOA member homes. The Longo hillside debris mitigation improvements are owned by one of 2 parties, either Longo, the City of Camarillo, or both. Intelligent people follow logic. Owners are responsible for the maintenance of their property. Longo, Staben, and the City of Camarillo, no one else, are responsible and obligated ethically and morally to do all that is required to maintain the debris barriers, debris platforms, and the material drainage facilities on Longo property. Obligated to protect the elderly residents of Camarillo Springs. Let me repeat what I just said because it's so important. Human life is irreplaceable. The rocks and dirt on the mountain above Camarillo Springs, mixed with high-speed water, can kill people and destroy homes. This is a fact. I respectfully state you, the City of Camarillo decision makers, must protect the Camarillo Springs people. You must vote to spend funds to provide maintenance of Longo property debris mitigation installations, or demand Longo do it. You have the power to protect my life and the lives of all the residents of Camarillo Springs community. I thank you for listening and absorbing the gravity of this perilous situation.
Thank you. Phil Eads.
Phil Eads, 6416 San Como Lane. Mr. Mayor, council, staff, thank you for hearing us all tonight, and we certainly want to thank you for your past support along the way. It's been significant, but we're still here and we're still at risk, and as you've heard, I won't go back over all of that, but I am in the middle of it. I'm at the bottom end of the Young Erosion Channel, and looking back this past year, I remember being here 8 or 10 months ago talking about El Nino, and El Nino went somewhere else. Maybe it went to Texas and Louisiana, and those people got the brunt of El Nino, I believe. The fact is, though, that I observed in our little young erosion channel world that the debris flow that we had last year was mitigated by the culverts and the features that were installed up the hill from our property. And that's a good thing, obviously. I suspect that based on the observations I made, the conversations I've had with some of the city staff, that even with the small amount of rainfall that we had last year, I suspect we probably still would have been damaged had we not been, had those moves not been made. Now, the reality is, we still have risk. We still have a situation where the barriers, the erosion barriers were not cleaned out, and that is still a risk. And I know there's unlimited amount of debris sitting on Conejo Mountain. Yeah, there's just no doubt about it. I've been up there. It's very loose debris, rocks, and just waiting to roll down the hill. So again, thank you, but I request, please approve the funding to clean the barriers. And further, to Ted Elliott's point, we are in the middle of trying to put back together very slowly San Como Lane. And it's been 2 years, and we have homes there that nobody wants to look at. And it would be, again, if in fact the implementation measures that have been approved and installed are in fact the solution to the answer, then there's no reason we should not issue permits for those homes to be repaired and reoccupied. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Phil, so you know that some of us were worried about you. Even with the light rain we had this year, we were out there at nighttime. Is it going to happen? Is it raining hard? Just to see, to make sure, because we're worried about what could happen. But they think things function right. And we were happy to see that, thank God.
Amen.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Steve Poley.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members, city manager and staff. My name is Steve Pauley, and I live on a high-risk sector of Gitana Avenue, Camarillo Springs. I'm representing myself here tonight and many others who live in Camarillo Springs. My topic is long-term maintenance and financial responsibilities of Conejo Mountain. First, I'd like to express my appreciation to the city for quick action and debris flow cleanup over the past 2 years. Over 28 years ago, as been noted tonight, the city approved the development known as Camarillo Springs. After mud and debris flows over the past 2 years, concerned homeowners are wondering why the owners of the mountain, namely the Camarillo family and Tom Staben, have not stepped up to take ownership of the property, and the damage and financial loss is caused to our community. My recommendation is for the city and the HOA involved to negotiate a financial resolution that places full responsibility of damage to Camarillo Springs residents, including the issue of mountain maintenance, fully with the owners and the city who approved our development. Thank you for your time and your interest in our community, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have no other cards. Staff would like to respond to some of those things that were said by the speakers.
Well, I could offer a comment.
There we go.
Unless, Mr. Klotzel, did you have anything on?
Just one more of a technical question that was asked as far as the extent of work to occur up there, one specifically asking about the young erosion area. Part of the project was to grade and install what we call the diversion berms across the young erosion area that have successfully channeled runoff and debris off young erosion over to the barrancas that's been captured behind the debris barriers. There is some minor erosion that's occurred from those rainstorms that while we're out there doing the clean out, we will be repairing that erosion so that they will continue to function as designed.
Okay, so that's some added things we're doing.
Right, so that's the only question that I'd be able to answer that was asked.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, the agenda item that's before the council this evening has to do with the change order number 4 and the removal of the debris that is behind the 3 lower debris barriers and the 2 upper debris barriers, and the allocation of up to $200,000 to accomplish that purpose. So that's the only issue that's before the council. That's the only issue that is on the agenda. The comments that were made by a number of the speakers relating to other issues, including the permits for the San Como homes, the future maintenance of the debris barriers, and the others are beyond the scope of the agenda matter that's before you.
Mr. Mayor.
One more thing first. But are we not looking at those issues at the right time? Right now, our staff is looking at those issues.
I would defer to.
Yeah,
I would refer to Mr. Norman to respond to that.
Let me ask, Mr. Klotzel, the recommendation by Dr. Kane about the safety of the homes, I believe it's been mischaracterized by the speakers this evening. I don't think we have the full story from them. And so, as I remember, Dr. Kane is saying that as long as there is a maintenance plan and the barriers are maintained, and then he could make a recommendation to allow for the permitting of those homes. Is that correct, Mr. Klotzel?
Yes, that's correct.
So given that we don't have a maintenance plan in place, and that as we have not been successful in negotiating that, staff continues to evaluate the safety and propriety of issuing permits for those homes, and we continue to evaluate that as conditions on the mountain change. For example, are they getting better? Are we having more rain, less rain? And then as we attempt to negotiate a maintenance plan with the affected parties, that would certainly change our ability to be able to move forward on permitting those red-tanked homes.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Little?
I understand the caveat that the engineer placed on the homes being restored. However, I don't think we can, these 5 homes are right in the middle of a community. I don't think we can just sit here and wait 5, 10, 15 years because we can't get a maintenance agreement with the parties up above the mountain. So I think I'd like to see the staff get together and see what other alternatives there may be available to us so that we can consider this again at a time, sometime very close in the near future.
Other comments?
I don't have a comment, but to take care of the motion or to take care of the business that we have as an agenda item tonight, I would like to move to authorize the city manager to execute change order number 4 in amount not to exceed $200,000 for ER 1502 Camarillo Springs debris flow barriers, and a motion to approve an appropriation of $81,000 to account number 101-3101 431.3502 project ER-1502.
Second.
We have a motion second. Other comments?
I'll just make one.
Kevin?
We've all gotten to know each other real well up here, and that's been a good thing. And I think this is going to go a long way into helping a real difficult situation, so I can support it.
I have one comment. I've lived here 54 years. I've been through the rains of '69, which is much heavier than that, double that rain. It went over the dikes and went through Oxnard. Okay, that was much, but this came after an emergency of, natural emergency where they burned the hill off. Maybe we can see what happens this winter. If we get a little rain, not too much, but enough to grow things, because some did grow back. Our staff went and looked, and some did grow back. That growth is what helps hold those rocks. So if we had, it burned it down 12 inches. It scorched stuff down 12 inches. So that's what hurt us. There was nothing holding. But maybe this winter we'll get enough to bring even more back and hold that mountain. Because at all these years and years that I know of before, there was never anything like that felt. Never. We had a natural emergency, and I'm sorry about that. But we're going to try to take some effort to help you and see if we can keep this safe and secure up there. We're always going to try to keep you guys safe. We're not Thousand Oaks that paid them $1,000 when they got all the mud in their houses. They gave them $1,000. That's it. Goodbye. We're not La Conchita. The county paid them nothing. There's still houses covered with mud there from the top of that mountain. So we're trying our best as a city to try to help you and putting up the things we think will work from experts that we talk to. But that's, it's kind of hard when you're sitting here trying to think how we can help you as much as we can. But let's see what happens this coming winter after we clean this thing out. And I don't think we're going to be overwhelmed with rain. Yes?
I had submitted a card. I don't know where it went.
You could allow him to speak. Did you want
can come up to speak if you want.
Yeah.
I don't have another card. Sorry.
Sorry, I submitted it early. But
Oh, I stack them up here.
oh, that's all right. My name is Ron Kester. I live on Gitana. We just were one of the fortunate ones. We've rebuilt and moved back in after almost 2 years. One of the things that concerns me about the cleaning effort is the access roads. There was an emergency access road that was put in, constructed, in one day in December of 2014. It was put up, not reinforced, only held up by K-rails. It is now heavily eroded, and I'm hoping that the plan is when the cleanup takes place, that they use the historical access road where there is an easement and it has been designated, it's recently been paved over, and they build that up where it can be used in the future, and then they take out the emergency access road. The reason being is we're looking right at the emergency access road on all of Gitana, and it is now going to, if we have rains, it's going to be a vehicle for mud to come straight into our homes again. So what we're hoping is that the emergency access road will be removed and that the historical and the designated primary access road, which is a little further down Gitana, will be improved somewhat on the mountain and be able to use that as the ongoing road.
Staff, you took that in consideration. You'll give us a report?
Yes, that has been a request since the work that's been created or performed out there. That quote temporary ramp that is out there. My understanding, not having been here during the actual events and the NRCS project, was that was a result of the flow that came down the hill, and then was turned into an access ramp during the NRCS project, and then our recent construction in January used that ramp also for construction access. And the city has conveyed back to the HOA that the items that were a part of the NRCS project, the K-rail, that temporary access ramp, is the responsibility of the HOA. The whatever property owner association governs that portion of land where that ramp exists. The city will utilize that temporary ramp because it is the most direct, easily accessible location to get trucks and equipment up there to perform the clean out and the haul off, and that ramp is intended to remain as it has been since the onset of the debris flow and the use during the NRCS project and our subsequent construction project.
Could you analyze that and see what the potential for, I don't want to see stuff flying down there again and all those rocks pile up in the guy's garage, to see what the potential is for and what we could do to make sure that's safe? By safe, I mean safe for the homeowners below.
I agree.
And very honestly, if it's something that is going to remain there, then it needs to be done to code. I mean, it's kind of interesting for the city to say we have an emergency road that we're going to now make permanent when it was not done to code. It was done as an emergency exercise. Heard of paving cow paths, they basically just put K-rails on the mud.
We understand. I'd just like to get a report back saying if that is a potential problem, safety problem.
We can take a look at that and report back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments? Any motion?
We already made the motion.
Oh, I didn't hear it. What was the motion second? Oh, wait, you did it.
Right there.
Never mind. Please vote. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for your comments.
Is there anything else to come back up?
Now,
Public comments, I believe.
let's go back to our council comments. We've already had the city manager didn't want to have any comments. City attorney didn't have any comments.
I believe there may be some more.
Question?
Yes.
I'm sorry
Oh.
I'm late, but I just want to know how soon would that clean out take?
Pardon me?
When would that clean out happen? How soon would that be?
We don't have a definite timeline. We needed to get this approval. The contractor has indicated that he would be able to perform the work most likely within the next month or two. The intent is to get it done before any potential further rainfall.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
You're supposed to go to Mr. Fox. Finish.
Oh.
My,
I thought we'd do that after our comments.
my suggestion is we pause for a moment.
Yeah, can we take just a couple-minute break, Mr. Mayor, clear the room?
Put your hammer
All
in.
right, take a 5-minute break. I don't understand you. Now it's time to do our comments time. Mr. Kildee, would you like to start?
Yeah, I attended, had it in front of me here, a VRSD meeting and an airport authority meeting. And Dave, how's the street maintenance program going? I know it's been vigorous, to say the least.
Yes,
but,
we're.
do you
Yeah,
have any updates?
Our slurry seal project is in full swing. We're right in the middle of it. You've noticed Las Postas has been slurry sealed, and striping will soon follow next week. We hope that new striping will go down on Las Postas. We're continuing on the major arterials, Arneals getting slurry seal, Ponderosa, and we're probably roughly about a third of the way through the project. We've still got quite a bit to do. If our weather holds, this is great paving weather, so we're making black hay while the sun shines, so to speak.
I have to say, I was watching them work, I believe it was Monday, when it was 103 degrees, and oh boy, did I thought, boy, that's a dedicated group there, but they were working, and they were, like Dave said, it's probably good weather to have that stuff settle, but man, it had to be tough on the workers there, but they were there just putting it down, so I got to give them a lot of credit for that. So far, it looks good. It's been a big improvement, and it's not going unnoticed, and I know it's been a little bit inconvenience for many of the residents here, but the end result is going to be good. So I have to say, I think it's starting to, it's kind of neat now because you can see it kind of take shape now, so that's a good thing.
Your Honor, earlier this evening, you were able to go through and at least announce the various meetings you've attended, so you only need to do that once during the night. So if there are other things you want an update, though, on, such as projects, as we just did with the overlay program, I believe, we'd certainly be happy to respond to that.
Okay.
We didn't do our meeting yet.
Oh, I thought you did. I just asked, and you said you did. Oh, my fault. I'm sorry. I wasn't here, so I didn't know.
Kevin,
That's
any
all
more?
I have. Yeah.
Bill?
Attended a number of meetings. Today was the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency and a victory for the good guys. I guess we'll have a report on that in a minute. I attended the Vietnam Veterans event at Padre Serra last Saturday, I think it was. had a nice turnout, and they really appreciated it. And the brass quintet was absolutely outstanding.
Fantastic.
They were fantastic. I attended an AWA annual dinner and presentation at the Reagan Library. I went to, last Saturday night, I went to the second annual Park and Recreation Foundation event.
I was there too.
Down at, Kevin was there, yes.
That's right, I was there too.
To raise money for the foundation that's been formed to raise money separately from the government base to help the Park and Rec projects. Mike Morgan and I attended the business visit at down on the Poncho Road industrial area. We went to a business called Integrity Bio, which is a bio company which is very interesting. They don't make anything original. They take ideas from developers of medicine for new drugs and run it through the clinical trials that lead to its approval or its disapproval. And that process can usually take anywhere from 7 to 8 years, maybe longer. And but what they're looking for is to develop a program where they could, a building first, and I think they have it now, where they can expand that to, because what they do is they get that approved, and the guy has to go off and find a manufacturer to make the drug for him, whereas if they want to do is get into the manufacturing of that drug here so that they would be able to keep their business intact much longer. So I hope that their plans carry out, because I think it could be a very big asset for us. They're very they're filled with former Amgen and Baxter employees, so they know what they're doing.
A lot of them out there.
They sure are. So that was very interesting, and we and I gave them a hand. They had some misunderstanding of what the city was trying to get done and everything. Of course, I attended the city volunteer event. That was very nice, and it seems like every year it gets bigger. And it's almost like every time you go to a family reunion, there's more people there. So it was very nice. And of course, I attended the special city council event last week. That's it.
Charlotte?
Yes, I have 3 comments, but the first one is that I wasn't at the first part of this meeting because I was at the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency meeting, and of course they were discussing our desalter, and as the representative of all the cities, I didn't feel I could leave early on that one until the discussion ended about 5:20. But I'd like to ask Mr. Fox to explain what happened at that meeting.
Again, maybe just to clarify our desalter project. So it's a desalinization plant where we would pump water from the ground and extract salt. There's a very brackish, salty mound of water at the north end of the city that's having a significant impact on our wells, and that water is unusable unless it's extracted and treated. Sometimes when people think of desalinization plants, they think of extracting ocean water. Similar type of process, but it's groundwater. We were calling it a desalter just to try and get away from the confusion when we say desalinization. Again, sometimes there's confusion. So we've had a desalter project in our capital improvement program for a while we've been trying to move forward with. In order to be able to pump water from the ground, we're governed by the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency, and we need approval from them before we can proceed. We've been trying for 6 years to get their approval. Tonight we received it, and that's a huge milestone that we've achieved. That is probably the most difficult step in the process to move forward with the project. With the approval of the GMA, we now have the authority to start moving forward with a project and investing money into design, property access, and those types of efforts. So over the next year and a half to 2 years, we will be doing just that, working on obtaining the land for the project, hiring a consultant, going through the design of a $30 million plant, and then ultimately move forward once we're completed with design, go to construction, which will probably take another year. So probably in 2019 we'll have a project operational. The benefits are not only that we're cleaning up a very salty, brackish plume of water that's creating impacts to wells, but we'll turn it into a resource, and we can use that as a local, reliable source of water, so we're less dependent on state imported water, and it's just another way that we're rounding out our water portfolio to make sure we have a good water supply for our customers. But again, long time effort that we've all been at for 6 years, and it was really nice to cross that line today and get the approval.
Great. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate those
And so I would also like to say that the Contract Cities Association is going to be holding one of the things that I think is the most important legislative meeting of the year, and that is they call it the SLOT, the Sacramento Legislative Orientation Tour. That will be held January 8th through 10th in Sacramento, and I'm hoping hopefully somebody who's on the legislative committee next year will be able to go. That you do sit for a while between speakers, but they bring in the people who have talked the most about the big plans they have legislatively for the upcoming year. The league does the same thing. Unfortunately, they don't hold their meeting until last week of April or early May, and a lot of it's all over but the shouting by then. So this is a very good program. You get to hear what people are planning to introduce, and sometimes you just have to keep your notes and keep it in mind, because whatever it is they introduce gets defeated early on. And what do you know? The night before they close up shop in September or August or whenever they close up, here it is as a gut and amend. And I've always found that interesting, but we can't do anything like that, but they can. But at any rate, I won't get off on gut and amend. I just hope somebody will be able to attend that meeting. In addition to that, I was wondering if you had heard about any plans for meetings to follow up on the conditions that were laid out in the JLUIS.
So the short answer is no, but the long answer is I actually invited Amanda Fagan, who's our planning liaison with the Naval Base Ventura County, to my department staff meeting this past Monday, so it was a pleasure to introduce her to all of our staff planners, and so we opened up relationships there. But no, we haven't heard of the upcoming meetings that we were anticipating, so I'm continuing to monitor that, and I'll keep you apprised.
Because the Transportation Commission was going to be in charge. Is it Chris Stevens?
It's Steve DeGeorge.
Steve DeGeorge was going to, he promised at that last meeting of the committee and the reporting meeting, and even here when he came to talk to us, that he would be following up with meetings so that those recommendations would be implemented at some point, or at least people would start talking about them. And I'm concerned that that is going to get put on the table and have nothing done. The reason I keep asking about it is every time I go back to Washington, D.C., they ask. When I was there on the last trip for RDP 21, they wanted to know if we were moving forward with implementing it. So in 3 or 4 years, I don't want to still be saying, oh, no, nothing's done, but it sure is a good plan on the shelf.
Well, we have a VCTC meeting next week, and I can certainly check.
Would you follow through and ask?
Sure will.
Thank you.
Any more, Charlotte?
That's it.
Charlotte's had a short one because she's been on a little vacation.
Cuba's wonderful.
Cuba was? Oh, yeah.
True it was.
As far as the J-Luce, I know there's to not feel bad that nothing's happened, I know there were a few of the items that were listed that they have taken action on, so little things, along the way, so nothing maybe as large in scope as you would like, but at least something's happened, so you can honestly say a few items have.
Well, I can't say it
Where-
unless I know what they are, but
I'll
can
give you a
report at some
list.
other time on that.
Meetings, let's see, September the 15th. The Oversight Board met, and you always know what happens there because we've done it the night before, so they approved the action as well. Economic Development Committee on the 23rd. I want to compliment staff on a great job of presenting items. It's basically council members and the Chamber of Commerce is mostly who attends, but a great job. It was we had a nice conversation. Maybe it's because the city manager was gone and allowed, I'm just teasing Dave.
I'll gladly assign that permanently to the assistant city manager.
I was just teasing, but it was very good. I want to report to you that your staff did a great job, and it was a good meeting, and questions were asked, and so we did that. I also, some of the events that were mentioned, I want to compliment the staff for their hard work on the event. Veterans. I was trying to get the right word out there. Good job. Our city manager, I've heard former military people say, does that man ever stop? Because he is just everywhere taking care of every detail. And your staff said, no, it takes 5 of us just to keep up with the man. So you have a very efficient reputation out there, and they much appreciated it. It was very, very nice. And the same way with the volunteer dinner. You are right, Mr. Little. It does tend to grow and grow. Now that we've added all the volunteers at the library and the ranch house, it's a big crowd now. But I think, and interesting things, people come, they don't always come every year, so you see a new group, and it's I think, very, very good, and people thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to congratulate staff and all of you on your hard work on the DeSalter, and Mrs. Craven obviously representing us there. That helps a lot, but it's been a long road, and we're not done yet, but that was one big hurdle to get over today. So I hear that Mr. Fox was eloquent and did a great job. And
Made an excellent presentation.
so kudos to you. So you can go home and go to sleep tonight. I think you were up all night getting ready for it, so sleep well tonight because you certainly deserve it. One question, website. Where are we?
Yes, the development company has finished the migration. Our staff and department representatives went through a training this last week. We're now starting the department-by-department review of content, and then we'll be ready to bring it forward.
Very good. So we're getting close.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Well, I got quite a bit, but I got to say right away first, Tom, that was a great job. I heard the day before that, looks like we're not going to make it. I went, oh, no, fight them. And then we got everything we wanted. That just makes me, understand how happy that makes me, because you get so many people asking about it. Well, what are you going to do about the DeSalter? What's going to? And so now you can tell them we're moving forward. And so I'm so happy with what you did. Thank you, Tom. I know you got staff too that helped you, but I know your presentation, and so you did a good job. EDCVC, we had that meeting. It was a normal meeting. We had to hurry because some of us had to run to Awa. But EDCVC just had to let you know what the budget was looking like, how much we've earned this time, that time, and so on. So it wasn't that long a meeting. Then I ran to the Association Water Agency because I'm an alternate on that board at the Reagan Library. Bill was there with me. Mm-hmm. And that's where we got to talk to one of the farmers that's on that that board, and I was really disappointed in the way he was talking. Thought, oh no, but it came around. 4 out of 5 voted for it. I'm happy. I know, but the others voted for it. Thank God. Vietnam's vet Memorial. I've got to tell you, when I'm walking in the back door to walk out to the front to go in, and I have a staff waiting out there to show us where to go, David, you're prepared. I didn't have to go find my way. There's your, it's right there. So you guys were very well prepared, and that band was fantastic, a military band. And so everyone enjoyed it. Everyone stuck around. No one cut out. It was a lot of fun.
I had 400 people there.
What'd you think, 3?
300 or 400?
2, okay. Yeah, it wasn't as many as you think. Then I went to a thing called Back the Badge. That was at Atria, representing the city at Atria, Back the Badge, because they had all the officers there, plus Commander McGrath was there, and they gave us lunch and all this stuff and showed the dog off that came and attacked the arm and all that stuff. It was kind of a fun little event there at Atria for all their people to see and them give appreciation for the police. Let's see. I went to St. Columbus Eagle Scout Award, and that, again, was a fun thing to do. I love going to Eagle Scouts because they see the things they do to accomplish that is something else. We had an investment committee meeting, Kevin and I did, and we learned some things. You're going to get a little review of something you all can use that we're issuing. You've done that, huh? That little summary that we wanted? Yeah. You're going to get something that I learned that I want to make sure everyone got a copy. So you'll be getting something. I had to go to the tech center over at the airport to cut a ribbon. And that tech center, if you've been to the airport and that new area they've got back there in the back where Haas Automation's put machines in for kids to learn, well, they've got simulators. They got like 20 simulators. Those are 2 screens, and they got the big ones inside that you can go and fly a plane. And those kids are coming from all the schools, have a chance to go there. And they have trainers that help them. I got to fly mine from here over Anacapa. I thought I was cutting in going to Casitas, but I ended up going, wait a minute. That's Kachuma. I got to go back this way. And you don't turn it like this. You got to turn it like this. And I said, I recognize the terrain. It's over there. He says, are you sure? And I said, he'd put the screen on. Yep, I'm going right toward Casitas. So I got to fly over Casitas. Then I had to leave because I wanted to land it, but I had another event I had to go to.
So
but
you left it up in the air?
Yeah, no, I said, you take over. I'm gone.
He parachuted.
I would have loved to have landed that thing. Anyway, if you ever have a chance, you can go over and look at those. They'll let you come and see them. They're training kids from all the schools that want to do it. We had a volunteer recognition. We all knew that at the ranch. That was a lot of fun. And we got, what, 2 or 3 cards thanking us for putting those on. How many of you went to the VCTA Business Outlook? Anybody else? Nope. I was there for a short time, then I had to run to another meeting. That was over in Ventura at the Tower Club. Let's see, Council. Oh, yeah. I had to run to Westlake because I had to speak on behalf of the city with 5 other mayors to the realtors, the women realtors for Ventura County. And I got to tell you, taking our little book of the state of the city and cutting that down to 10 minutes instead of 30 and taking out the good parts, we look good. We really look good. None of them could say they're 23rd best. And I said, there is one city that's close, but we're the 23rd best place to live. I said, Thousand Oaks is number 78. And then we went down the line. I said, but I got to let you know we're all doing well because Ventura County is the #1 county, rated #1 in the United States to live. And I gave him a few other things. Yeah, I gave him a few other things about AAA rated and so on and so forth. When each one of those talked, I remember it was Huber that said something about we are one of the safest violent crime cities or whatever. I just said, yeah, but we weren't in that. That was over 100,000. Everybody laughed. So we had a lot of fun, and I did comment on how we're all doing so well. That's why we're rated that way. Then I had to run somewhere else. Oh, Integrity Bio. I had to run there real quick with Bill. That place is going to be a bigger company. It's going to grow. And they didn't know that our staff had already been trying to get a hold of them to correct those 2 things that they were asking us to help. But our staff had already sent them messages. They hadn't returned them. So that now they know that we did correct those. They should be really happy with that, and I'm glad staff did that. But that company, they're showing us how to. It is so clean and sterile in there. It's unbelievable. And I got to think, okay, they're clarifying. They're testing drugs. They need clean, sterile water. And I said, do you guys use Meisner? Oh yeah. Because Meisner has that stuff. They test, they put into needles, things that, you know, medication things. Yep. And so they use Meisner water. Where did Westlake go? Oh, yeah. Housing opportunities. There was a housing opportunities meeting. That's the housing trust thing that a lot of us elected officials used to be on. Then they decided maybe elected officials shouldn't be on it. It's about 4 of us. Okay. Well, it's a housing opportunities. It was at the Camarillo Ranch. Again, it's housing trust. And that went on a long time. And it was very, very a good presentation on affordable housing and things that we're working on in the county. I won't go on more. That's it. Done.
Okay.
Okay. We have anything else to say, guys? Then we're adjourned. The next meeting. Oh, we have some closed sessions still?
On closed session.
I'd ask the city manager, do we have any more closed sessions?
Okay, then we'll recess to closed session.